Hello, my beautiful watchers, and welcome to this Q&A that it's been so long between when I said I would do this to now, I have genuinely no idea what I was celebrating, whether it was like 250, 260, 200, a couple of months late, but yeah, hey everyone. So I asked you guys to send in some video questions, and we're going to answer them now. Probably should have said this before. Hello, I'm Dominic Noble. This is my co-producer, writer, editor, general person who does all the actual hard work around here, Kate Robinson, aka that movie chick.
Hi.
So let's jump into this thing.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Dominic Noble, and greetings from Northern California. I have two questions. Answer both or just one, whichever you want. What is your favorite Pulp Fiction story, and have you read the works of Edgarise Burroughs? In my humble opinion, Edgarise Burroughs' original Tarzan novel is an absolute goldmine for lost adaptation, but of course you do that when and if you have the time and the desire to do so. Side note, this lovely piece behind me is from another Burroughs creation, John Carter of Mars. My dad is a huge Edgarise Burroughs fan and a professional illustrator by trade, so he actually drew that. Yes, apple did not fall far from the tree, but that's for another time. Thank you for taking my question, and I hope you have a lovely day.
Aw. That's a wholesome start.
Yeah.
I do.
Didn't you do Tarzan?
No.
Oh, why do I feel like you did Tarzan?
I always fear these questions of have you read the works of this or what's your favorite this, because sometimes I'm like, I have never read any of that, and it's always things that I haven't read, so I feel like I'm the least well-read person in all of YouTube. Because I was like, oh, do you enjoy this genre? I was like, I've never read one. So Pulp Fiction is like, I want to say like detective mystery sort of thing, or is that?
They can be, but also like adventure. Yeah, so things like that. So they can range from detective to adventure, but they do tend to be very male-centric, so it's not really my thing.
Yeah, no, I have read a few like that, I guess. I don't know if you class the Sharp novels as Pulp Fiction. He does go on adventures, but it's like very grounded, it's alternate history.
They tend to be shorter. Are they shorter books?
Okay, then no, I don't think I've read shit.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty wide scope genre. I think it just mostly is like there's many of them, like many books. They're not very long. Like I guess you could kind of count Goosebumps as Pulp Fiction because they're not long. There's many of them.
Okay, then yeah, let's go Goosebumps then. Hooray! I found something I'd actually read. All right, good answer. Good answer.
I know I'm about to ask a hypothetical question.
That was an aggressive
and I'm in
start.
no way asking you to read Master of the Universe. But imagine that, in the conversion to 50 Shades of Grey, Christian Grey had remained a Twilight-style vampire. How, if at all, do you think your opinion of Grey as a character and the series as a whole would be different if that were the case?
If he was a literal vampire instead of just a rich vampire allegory?
So, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are. I don't really like critiquing people's fanfic because it's for free and it's someone's personal work. Like, they're not trying to make a profit. I mean, I get it that she eventually...
With E.L. James, I make an exception, but in general, I agree. And this fanfic is like... If I've paid to read something, I feel I have the right to critique it. If I've just tracked down someone's fanfic on the internet, they weren't putting that up for me to give them my 2 cents.
It's like bullying at that point.
But, I when he said Masters of the Universe, my mind went to He-Man.
Me too. I'm like, wait, is that like a novel? I was like, I'd be down to rewatch He-Man. He-Man, that's a gold mine of just, see, for me, like bad things that I love campy things. Just something that's so corny and so campy, which is why I like the 80s Scarlet Pimpernel so much. But
I think, like, to actually answer his question, I think if you return things back to Twilight, you just get Twilight again.
Yeah. Also, didn't she just file off the serial numbers? Like
for a lot of things, like my understanding of Masters of the Universe was it wasn't necessarily that she was rewriting 50 Shades. She was writing her own fanfic set within the 50 Shades world with like an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Not 50 Shades, like Twilight. So it was like a Twilight where they just fuck a lot. And then she changed it. So what you were left with was like elements that were very close, like the love triangle with Jose and all that, like, instead of Jacob. And just really weird, bizarre, random things, like her mother not coming to her graduation because her new husband broke her leg. Like, plot points that serve absolutely no purpose now, and the new story will just be there.
Except that it was from Twilight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm of the opinion that, like, Stephanie Meyer probably couldn't have sued E.L. James because if she would then, if she said, no, actually I made that up, I didn't actually write fanfic, she could probably get away with it because there wasn't enough similarities to make an actual legal case. But if he was a vampire, that would probably push it back in just enough for legal territory. But, I mean, the whole point of her making him a rich person is rich people are kind of the non-magical version of vampires. They're parasitic, powerful people.
Yeah.
So I think... Yeah, I mean, aside from the fact that it is literally supernatural, I don't think there would be that much change to the story. It would just change where his power comes from. It would change from money to fangs.
It would be rereading 50 Shades, but if it were super unpolished, so that I feel like it would be more torture.
More unpolished than 50 Shades is tricky. So yeah. I don't think it'd be hugely different, but I'm also, definitely don't want to read Masters of the Universe either.
No.
Hello, no. Wondering, is there anything about England you didn't expect to miss? What are some things you love about California? You miss the snow?
No. I mean, I'm not from England, but I don't miss... I like looking at snow, but I don't miss it.
Yeah, you're from Jersey?
Yes.
Jersey, yeah, lot of snow there?
Jersey. God. No, it snows a lot. During winter. But yeah, they had a snowstorm there this past year, like a really bad snowstorm.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
England was never really known for snow. Scotland was. And we had this one embarrassing year where we had, because of like climate change, we had a very bad winter where there was like maybe 5 inches of snow. The entire structure of the English economy ground to a halt because we don't have bulldozers. We don't
that's
have
not
things.
Embarrassing.
Well, it's just like it's the kind of snow that a Canadian would consider like shirtless weather, and you bulldoze it, you sweep the roads, and you're done. But we don't have that infrastructure.
No, yeah. That also is due to the fact that I remember what state it was. Maybe something like Ohio, where there was not Ohio. I don't remember what state it was, but I remember when they got a lot of snow and everyone was making fun of them. But their roads are not meant to sustain severe cold weather or snow. So, obviously no one would have any of the snow plows. I don't find that's just more of like indicative of like how sad it is that we're still unprepared for global warming. It's not really an embarrassment. It's just more of like, we have to acknowledge that it exists, but it'd also be really expensive to completely redo England so that it could sustain snow.
It costs millions of pounds a year to maintain this stuff, but if the world's going to keep changing the way it is, we're going to have to prepare for that. I miss my family. I miss living in a place that wasn't costing me $3,000 like a month to live. But weirdly, I actually never super bonded with Britain. I never really found what I felt was my place there. I was like perpetually unhappy no matter what was happening because, Britain just for some reason just didn't really click with me. Despite I do still self-identify as British. Obviously, I have dual nationality. But if someone says where are you from, I'm not going to say like North Carolina where I was born. I'm going to say Britain. But I don't miss a lot of things about it. I don't miss the continually shitty weather, or the weird, bizarre, backwards attitude towards mental health, and just medicine in general. I think one thing I really liked about California is that just there was a different attitude towards friendships and politeness and interactions and community and stuff like that. So I'm definitely much happier in California. I was complaining about it all morning to you because there's certain things I don't like. It's insanely inefficient here.
Yeah, no, nothing's perfect.
But overall, the only thing I really miss about England is like individual people, not the place itself. It's just
Honestly, same with my feelings on New Jersey. I obviously tell people I'm from New Jersey and there's things I'm proud of, but I did leave for a reason. I miss my family. I miss certain friends, but I don't miss the general atmosphere, and I don't miss snow.
Fuck snow. We barely ever got it because I lived on a little peninsula just below Liverpool. Yeah, so a lot of sea air from the Irish Sea. So we never ever got snow, and then when we did, it was like it's amazing. It's so good.
I don't miss the days where I drive in it and be like, is this the day I die? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I went from like, oh my gosh, snow is so amazing to fuck this snow so quickly. I moved to Derbyshire, which is right in the centre, a bit more snow there. So I was like, oh, this is so beautiful, this is so nice. And then I was like, there's asshole kids throwing snowballs at you, there's cars slipping everywhere, it's fucking slushy and wet, and you take your life into your own hands every time you leave your house.
Yeah.
So it's like, it went from childlike wonder to fuck this noise so quick for me.
Snow is great if you're up isolated in like a cabin for a weekend and you don't have to go anywhere.
Coldest I've ever felt, so I'm getting so off topic here, coldest I've ever felt was when I was living in a LARPing village. We were filming a university project there, and it's like we're living in huts. Like, and there's no heating. It's south of Wales, north of Wales, I think. And it was the middle of winter. There was snow everywhere, and I thought that I was going to die. Like I was just like, I have never known coldness like this.
Yeah, no.
Never been keen to experience that again. So yeah, California is definitely ahead on most of the things.
On weather.
On weather and a lot of things.
Yeah.
I just wish it was slightly cheaper.
Hi, Dome. Or is it the Dome? Oh well, butchering your name aside, I had a question for you. What's your favorite scary, sexy monster?
Oh, that just cut off. Did she get kidnapped by a sexy monster?
It just cut off so suddenly.
It would cut off so suddenly.
Just like the beast tackles her out of the frame.
Go on, Dom.
I mean, that went sexual so far. I did not. That was favorite sexy monster. Like, are we talking about the kind of monster that I am supposed to fuck?
I don't find monster boyfriends in general fuckable, but that's just me.
It's a different answer for men and women, I think, because there's so many monsters that are designed to be really fucking sexy in a lot.
Oh, I do know mine. Goliath. From Gargoyles.
Oh, no, he was...
I mean, he's voiced by Keith David, so it's kind of a cheat, but...
But he was like, he was ripped.
No, it's not even ripped. So for me, I'm not really into bad boys.
Nothing to do with what's under that loincloth?
No. I honestly don't. I don't really like beefcakes. Not really my vibe.
Okay.
I like him because I love Keith David. I think he has such a great voice. And he's so loyal and so nice and smart. I was like, wow, he just seems like a really nice boyfriend to have. And he's so good to Elisa.
So basically, I see Goliath. I thought you were talking about Keith David's. I was like, so you basically want to fuck Keith David's no matter what form he's in.
I mean,
but it's
true. I think he's cool too. But Goliath
is so fucking wholesome.
I was like, he's just so nice. And he's got that great voice. And he would, he defeats evil and stuff like that. So he's pretty honorable, I would say. But yeah, my secondary would be Shape of Water, just because I don't know, there's just something so quirky about that story. Yeah. Other than that, not really.
Do we class aliens as monsters?
Yeah.
Okay. The entire cast of Mass Effect.
I thought you were going to say Xenomorph.
That double mouth, yo. Entire cast of Mass Effect. Most, all the women, some of the men. Not gonna lie. Like Garrus, good-looking guy. Even once I've got his half his face.
I didn't really grow up. I mean, my dad played Mass Effect, so I only know like a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just like, so what I'm struggling with is there's so many options for men because there's no monster in D&D.
Wow, way to rub it in.
Well, they've stuck tits on everything. There's fucking half spider ladies with giant bazungas.
Oh God. I know you don't watch the show, but Hercules had an episode like that scarred me as a child, where he ends up on an island and there's a spider lady there. Oh, she was so creepy. I would not say she was hot.
Does he fuck the spider lady?
No, she kills like his entire crew.
No.
Yeah, she was not a nice lady. But we did meet that really cool actress her character's name is Nebula, and I'm blanking on her name right now, but everyone knows who she is. I mean, if you've seen one Joss Whedon project, you've pretty much seen her.
Yeah,
but I first noticed her on Hercules. But yeah, I remember the spider lady on there scaring the shit out of me. But I remember finding that one chick really endearing, that one monster lady who shacks up with the giant, and she has like all these babies. Oh my God, what the hell was her name? She was like some weird snake lady.
Okay.
She was cool. I'm sorry, I'm going on tangent. I'm just thinking of monster ladies now. And that and Demona.
Every time like Xeno or Hercules comes into the conversation, that's usually, I've just sort of
it's
waited out because you have to get that shit out.
Mm-hmm. No, it's okay.
She's got so much joy in her heart for that sort of program, so it's nice.
See, that was my introduction to like fantasy stuff. That and like a graphic novel I had of The Hobbit, but that was about it.
Okay. It's basically every D&D. Like I wouldn't do a Dragonborn or a Tabaxi. Tabaxi, thank you.
Yeah.
Or the equivalent from like Skyrim. What are they called? Khajiit. Simply because that's into furry territory. But other than that, pretty much every other playable race in every video game ever that's had women, usually they're hot. So, yeah, I'd pick a monster, I'll date him. Backwards facing knees. That's a big one for me.
Oh yeah, that's
I love
true.
That.
You also have Natasha Hendridge in right? Is that her name? From Species.
Haven't seen that. I think like the
She
creep
literally
factor would
fucks
have been.
people to death in that movie.
Wow.
Including
Oh,
Alfred
sorry. You know,
Molina.
I'm thinking of.
What are you thinking of?
What's it called? The girl. She's like. It's called Splice, I think.
Oh.
That's what I was thinking of. You know, Species I did watch.
Different, that's
Species,
different.
Species was fine because that leaned into the fact that it was softcore porn/gore fest.
Yeah. Honestly, my favorite character was Forrest Whitaker, just being the most useless empath possible. He like walks into a murder scene. She was very angry when she did this. No shit,
Yeah.
was she?
Did the bloody corpse give you a hint? Yeah.
I love that movie. It's so dumb. My favorite is Ben Kingsley. Oh yeah, well, we just got free DNA from these aliens. We went, yeah, that's cool. I'm sure this won't backfire on us. And well, we made her into a woman because we thought she'd be more subservient, and they all just like looked at him like, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's tangent
It's a
aside.
good point though, because I'm going to add a caveat that it has to be one that's not going to horribly murder me after the
Most monster women, especially if they're horny, will fuck you to death.
No succubus, nothing that's going to like drain my life force.
Or any prey mantis.
Yeah, nothing's going to
monsters, like from
literally
Buffy.
eat me afterwards. That would be a big no-no.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is going to have to be a fun. You know, as long as it's going to be a fun time for both of us, I'm pretty open to any monster variety.
Okay.
Generally human-shaped and not
Generally human
and
shaped.
preferably not furry.
Barely
That's
skirts the line of monster. I am good to go.
Scaly I'm okay with, because Zahn from Farscape, I think she had like implied scales. She was meant to be like a plant woman. Zarya.
Oh, no, I know who you're
Bald
talking
blue
about.
woman?
Yeah, I know who she is.
I'm sorry, man. Explaining Farscape.
I grew up with Farscape.
I love that show.
Yeah, that was a good show.
So Zahn was a big pull for me.
Honestly, she could get it. She was pretty sensual too of that character. She was
oh, yeah,
constantly getting naked on that show.
She was, yeah. That guy tried to scare her. I was like, oh, here's my naked, ugly body. And she's like, is nudity taboo for you? Whoosh, just
Yeah,
whips it
exactly.
out.
She did not give two shits. I also loved that she was low-key incredibly lethal, but very nonchalant about it.
Yeah, she could fuck you up.
Yes.
I have a signed photo from her, but I didn't get it in person, unfortunately. I couldn't get the day off work for this convention back when I was working in a call centre, so my friend went and got me her autograph for me.
Yeah.
So, Vanessa something, I think her name is, but
I don't remember.
she seemed nice.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was a shame because the only reason she didn't stay on the show longer is because she started to get sick from all the blue paint they had to stick on her body.
Which is understandable, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
she's
probably
like,
not
yeah.
healthy.
No. So she stuck on for it for as long as she could. It was like about 3 seasons or so.
Yeah, she
Before
did.
she was like, Kate, can you just kill my character off? I can't do this anymore.
Shame. She came back for cameos and stuff.
Yeah.
like-
Well, no, yeah, because they didn't have like a weird bad rapport on that show. It was just more of like, hey, this is actually not good for my skin.
Sure.
Just because that clogs your pores after a while, and that starts sinking into your skin. You start absorbing it after a while, and
dear.
you can't really keep doing that forever.
Yeah, I imagine.
It's,
Yeah.
You know.
It's a shame they couldn't like write it into the like, oh, Zahn, why you've turned into a human or something.
Oh, I was gonna say like a Big Wolf on Campus, where the kid they hire to be the werewolf, he actually was allergic to the adhesive they were using, so they could only make him partially like with the fur. So they just went, let's go for a more Wolfman aesthetic.
They pulled a trick like that in Andromeda, you know, Kevin Sorbo's other thing, where there was an actress who was having trouble wearing purple all the time. So they changed it so she was replaced with a version of herself from the future that was less maked up. She was like gold, and it was just foundation. And then they did it again with this guy who was a Magog, who was like full on latex thing. And then he was also half turned into a human. So they kept doing this trope where people wear less and less makeup as they go along.
Yeah, because for TV shows, I think a lot of people don't think about it. Because like for a movie, it's like, yeah, you do it for about a year, and then you never have to do it again. But when you have to do it to yourself for several years, it does become taxing after a while.
Yeah, for sure. So the answers were Goliath and anything that's not going to kill me.
Hi, Dom. I'm Cooper, and I was wondering, if you had all the money in the world, what sword would you have custom made for yourself? And then a follow-up question for Wisp and Sir Terry. Where is your favorite place to perch? Mine's on my owner's chest.
Oh, what a purr
I like
boy.
the very loud purring.
Yeah. Oh, that was adorable. So wait, all I can. Okay.
If you had all the
swords.
money in the world, what sword would you get?
Okay.
Or custom make, I guess.
Custom make. So it's tricky because like, do I want to get something that I'm actually good at using, or do I just want to get something that looks fucking sick?
I was like, you just get a big, ridiculous sword.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. Because if I'm gonna get like a display sword, I'm probably gonna either go with one-handed arming sword, which is commonly misknown as the long sword. or hand and a half sword, the bastard sword style thing. If I want something that I occasionally want to actually play around with, the only actual sword training I've had is in fencing with foil. So I'd have to get some sort of, like, maybe Italian swept hilt dueling rapier.
Oh, you can get one with, like, a really pretty, like, fancy, like, hilt on it, too.
Yeah, like the six-fingered man sword from
Ooh, yeah.
Princess Bride. So
That's a pretty sword.
That's a really nice sword. I'm in sword world now. Yeah, Damascus steel is a must. It's when they layer different types of metal on top of each other and then forge them out, so you end up with, like, the folded steel pattern. Really pretty. It would probably be like a trial and error thing. Like, I'd spend months planning this thing before I spend my infinite money on it. But yeah, that was a good question. I love. So the next one was about Westminster Terrier, I think, wasn't it?
Where is their favorite place to perch?
Yeah, back of my chair when I'm trying to work. So they will claw their way up into my beautiful leather chair, like digging their way into it, and then claws, and then so Terrier will wrap himself around me and purr loudly. I was like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" Trying to work.
I had a childhood cat named Buttons, and the weirdest place she would perch is on my sister's back, because my sister was an artist, so she'd be like hunched over her tablet. And we had a picture, I'm sure my sister has it somewhere, a picture of her hunched over drawing, and she was a tiny cat, so she just curled up right in the back.
Aww.
And then my sister couldn't move, because she's like, I can't, she's so cute.
Yeah. They use the power of cuteness to keep you trapped there forever. Where does Eva like to chill?
She has different sleeping areas. She has the long end of our couch that she's basically crumpled up the pillow so that she hugs a pillow when she sleeps. It's her favorite thing to do. If she's sleeping up in the office, she will be wrapped around one of our chairs so we can't really move.
Gotcha. Does she have to sign an NDA as well? Oh, hey, he's got some of the merch. Hi, Dom and Kate. I'm Capri. Hello, Capri. And I have a question.
This is cute. I like this.
Yeah. Do you prefer American or British jelly?
Jelly? Like...
Okay, well, in Britain, what you call Jello is what we call jelly?
Oh, I hate Jello.
So over here, I think you say, like, peanut butter and jelly when you actually mean jam?
Jam, I jive with, but I don't like Jello. But I also don't think you have the same kind of Jello.
I think we have literal Jello now. I think that particular brand has spread across. But yeah, it's a little glue, like rubber-looking stuff. You pour water on it, it melts. You let it dry in the fridge, and you get like this jelly.
I hate that texture.
Yeah, so that's what we call jelly, and then over here you call it jam. So I guess if it's jelly versus jam, and if they were both British, I'd say jam, I guess. But if I'm choosing between American jelly, which is jam, and British jelly, which is Jello, I guess that's the same answer, isn't it?
I mean, I've never had British Jello or jam, so I couldn't really say. I like a good preserve when you get it from like a nice fresh market, like a blueberry jam or a strawberry jam. I've even got one that was not that you would like it, but it was a strawberry jalapeno one. Oh, it was so good. So good. A nice spicy jam. I like spicy sweet. I don't really like salty sweet, but I like spicy sweet.
Nice. Yeah. I can't have spice in any capacity.
No, well, yeah. No, that's why I was like, that's why. But yeah, I don't really know the difference, like...
It's literally just terminology. Like...
Oh, no, yeah. But what I mean is, like, I don't know the taste difference. Like, I've never... I know what American ones taste like, but I don't think I've ever had, like, a British jam or, like,
Or
Jello.
jelly, yeah. I don't think I've had any American jam now that I think about it. I should get some motherfucking jam.
Yeah,
get some strawberry jam out of this sandwich. It's beautiful.
Yeah, if you go to like a fresh market or a Whole Foods, you'll get a good preservative one.
I will put this on Twitter then. This will be the start of my jam quest. I'm going to go to like Trader Joe's.
No, don't do that.
No, didn't it? Okay.
No, they have like...
You used to be so into that place.
No. What I mean is like if you're going for like good jam, you can get affordable jam at Trader Joe's. But if you like want a really, really good jam, you want like something good from like a fresh market. That's all I was saying.
Hey. Hello from Canada. I was just wondering how you start the process of writing a script for a video. Like, how do you go through that? I'm a huge fan, and I've been watching your channel for about a year now, and never fails to make me laugh or pissed off or just... You make great content.
That's so nice. Well, did she say pissed off?
I don't think she meant at you.
It makes me laugh. Oh, I hate you. I hate you, Dom.
No, I think she more meant like more vicariously, like if you're hating something.
If I'm reviewing a bad thing.
I think it depends.
Yeah, it's not going to like hugely surprise anyone, I think, because obviously the first thing I do is read the book or listen to the audiobook more often than not.
Yeah, we listen to the audiobook. Normally, I try to go in it blind depending on how much I'm enjoying the audiobook. If I hate it, which doesn't happen all the time, but I'll immediately research because I need to know who I'm angry at. And I'm like, wait, why do I hate this? Like, and then I have to research it.
Yeah.
And I'll do like a good 2-day research bender on it if I can find enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really don't find a lot on certain authors.
That's always frustrating because I want to make statements about why this is the way it is. That's become so... Like, I used to literally intentionally do no research because I just wanted to make this a pure, uninfluenced review of what is the difference. And now I've had a complete 180. Like, I want to know why this happened so badly now. So when the ones where there's not much to go on, it's just like, I can only guess.
Yeah.
And I don't like putting words in people's mouths, especially if it's about a negative change. But I don't really have a lot of options but to theorize that they're misogynistic or that they are racist or... This change was made because they don't give a shit. But so it's read the book. I'll make some notes if there's something in particular I want to mention in the book review portion as I'm going through it. And so while Kate's doing the research, then I move on to the film. When I was working alone, what I do is I would meticulously, as the film was going on, make all these notes about what was changed, what was, what's the same, what's changed, what was left out, and then order those into, the categories after I'm done. And then try to convert that into the script. Now I leave most of the detail work to you. I let Kate pick out all the really I've had to restrict some of the amounts of notes because when I don't, you give me 27 pages of notes. Now
we whittle it down to the big topics.
Yeah,
what are things that we're going to actually need to cover because we don't need to know. Well, he was wearing a red shirt in the book.
It used to be a real slow point for me as I would keep pausing the film to make this note, and I'd start writing the script, and it means that I'd take an entire day to watch a film, which isn't entirely fair to the film. I was getting ideas about this film because I was watching it in 10-minute chunks.
Yeah.
And these days, I trust Kate to catch all the big changes. Yeah. So I feel more confident just watching the film and then writing the off the top of my head big changes, and then referring to her notes for the details that I might have missed. And then, so then I usually struggle for a day or two trying to think of how to convert this into a script.
Yeah.
Because that's always been my Achilles heel, is just writing, because the entire video hinges on it so hard. You have to be funny and insightful in this one thing, and sometimes I just don't feel like I have the needed material. It's like, okay, this is just an okay adaptation. I've got nothing to snark about.
Yeah, no, sometimes so far the episodes that I've worked on with you, I personally haven't come across that. It's either been something I've really, really enjoyed or something I've actively hated. I try not to rage notes, but sometimes when I'm really angry, that's when I'm at my most quippy. So I'll add in some jokes that I thought of on the fly if I'm watching. The way I watch the film is I'll watch it on the Mac because I don't always watch on the big screen. Honestly, I only watch on the big screen if Corey wants to watch it with me, which has been like an occasional. Mostly it's just been the Prestige. It's only because he saw it years ago, so he's like, oh yeah, I'll rewatch it with you. And then all I did was rant about how different it was.
I love that your boyfriend vicariously suffers with us whenever we're coming through a rough one or something like that. I just think, well,
there was a point.
At least he's suffering too.
Because you know how there's that convoluted of the doubling machine thing? I had to describe how different it was to him using salt shakers. I'm like, all right, now listen. And I had to actually just to describe it to him because he was getting confused. Because he's like, wait a minute, I thought it was like this. I'm like, no, that's the movie. So basically I had to go, so book Hugh Jackman and this is movie Hugh Jackman. And then I was explaining how it was different.
I love that so much. I'm seeing you as the meme from oh fuck! What's the thing? The guys who run a bar.
It's Always Sunny. With Charlie.
The conspiracy guy thing. So I'm imagining you ranting it at Corey
and
with
I'm
this.
knocking on the door, going, Carol.
Yeah. Carol.
Yes.
That's so funny.
When I watch a film, I will usually watch it by myself on the Mac, and I will have a Google Doc open and then I'll split screen it with the movie so that I never have to pause it. I just kind of type when I see something. Okay. I normally don't type in things that are the same because I'll just remember it from my book notes. If it's something different or added, I immediately, because I don't want to forget.
Sure.
And then I just write whatever. It's very free form. And then once I'm done watching the movie, and then I just start deleting things that are invalid.
Okay.
So that's how I do it.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's basically what I do on my end. And most of my thing is just trying to, how do I... You know, the format of Lost in Adaptation used to be really helpful to me because it was useful having a way to do these things. But what I'm struggling with more and more at the moment is, because there's a set order that I have to describe things, when there's nuance to it, I struggle because, I have to talk about this stuff first because it's the same, but this thing here is slightly changed, but I can't talk about how it's different in this part of the scene until I've got to the chain section. Also, there's like a setup in the chain section that you really have to know in the same section. So I struggle to explain these things in a non-chronological order because it's not chronological throughout the film, it's chronological for the different categories. So yeah, I was thinking of maybe experimenting with some episodes where it is not a set category, it is just a bit more freeform, but I don't know, maybe that might not work as well.
I think it depends on how faithful the adaptation is. Like if it's a fairly faithful adaptation, I think it gives you a lot more leeway to work with. I think sometimes we get screwed over, like when we did Earthsea, and it only barely followed one of the books. And then you have to explain both books. You're like, no, you don't understand why this is so awful unless you know what they completely threw out the window.
That was the perfect storm, because it was like half, because it was 2 books. One is in name only, one isn't, but it's close to it. Yeah. So we had to basically synopsisize both books, and then do 3 categories for the first book, and then do 3 categories for the second book. And did we split into 2 episodes? Because I know we did one for...
We did 2 episodes.
The making of.
Yeah, 2 episodes. The first episode was one more of you raging like you just discovered this really great classic author that you wish you had discovered sooner. And
then found out she was screwed over so hard. And I was just angry.
And then you kind of went more into like a lot of her fantasy world building and how much people have been inspired by it. So that's how we split that up. And so to then go back to like with Scarlet Pimpernel, also based off 2 books, but it did it in a lot more seamless way because at least it pulled enough elements from both books that we didn't have to tell you the entire plots of both. All we really had to go over was the 3rd act being different, and that was it.
Yeah. So that was a good one because there was enough that we didn't have to do a complete book synopsis because there was enough in the same section. Those are the easiest ones where the same section serves as a synopsis. So if someone hasn't read the book or seen the film, this brings them up to speed. And then we can talk about the interesting changes. The hard ones are when it's just not enough. It's like it's just similar enough to not be in name only, but just not enough that we have to.
The Prestige was like that. Yeah. The Prestige was like it was so close,
so frustrating,
and
that
it wasn't the same at the same time. I was like, why did you do this, Nolan?
It's tricky because I had mixed feelings about the book for entirely disconnected reasons, and I had mixed feelings about the film in that case.
Yeah, entirely different reasons. I would say if I really had to choose, I'd choose the book. I enjoyed the book way more.
I think so too. Yeah.
I mean, the flow of the film was more engaging, but if I had to say... But I hated the characters in the movie more. Like there was no one to like in the movie.
Somehow they were worse, and it really did all come down to that last bit where the transporting thing just absolutely makes no sense. And then Christian Bale doing his real accent just throws me off so much because it does
sound put upon.
It sounds fake. I'm sorry,
weird,
Christian Bale.
Because Michael Caine doesn't sound put upon.
No, You know what's weird? We're going soft to tangent. So you probably knew what you were getting into with us. When he had that famous freak out where he was yelling at the light guy.
What the fuck are you doing?
I was hearing an American accent because I was expecting it from him.
Well,
we are done professionally.
That makes sense though because he was playing an American on that film and he's a character actor, so he was probably the reason why he was so mad is it takes a lot to get into character and then you have to really, and he was in a dumb movie too. It was Terminator Salvation.
I liked that film.
Very memeable. Like the way he was yelling was so over the top.
Good for you.
Good for you. And how was it?
Someone spliced that.
He was such a dick in that clip.
Yeah. Someone did a remix where they put that in. They mixed that in with Charlie. The other kid who's coming back from the dentist. And I was like, "Is this real life?
This is real life."
And then so it's like, "Oh, good for fucking you." I was like, "I got a missing tooth." It was like, "Yeah, shut the fuck up." Anyway, did we answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay, hey.
No, we did. Yeah. Oh, and then there's, if they want to know the process of how you write your scripts, you write it, I proofread it once, and then you continue to do the drafts as you're filming.
That is actually, yeah, I probably should admit to that. I've always said I just do one draft.
Me, I go
that's
for
a
like 5
lie.
drafts.
Yeah, it's just that I update as I'm going. There's a lot of footage that she has to work through, which is me going like this, and then, oh shit, that's
honestly,
not good English.
It's funny. I watch a lot of the clips in reverse because sometimes, because you'll start off saying a sentence and then you'll say in the middle, Kate, I've actually rewritten this. Yeah. Disregard.
I had done that a few times, yeah.
So I usually will I'll find the last time that you say a line and then I'll go backwards. That's what I mean. Because I don't know where
you've evolved a way of working around my inability to decide on a thing until the last second. Okay, that is good to know. Okay, so that was we've so many tangents in that one.
It's okay. Because that was a very broad question, because, the process is,
Yeah, we somehow tied, I think we tied in Always Sunny in Philadelphia and the Scarlet Pimpernel into that answer, but those were things we looked at recently. So.
Yeah, no, it's true. It was more fresh in the mind.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Yes, it was.
So, I've noticed you have a bit of a thing for swords. Which one was your first one, and where did you get it?
My first sword, it's not a very interesting answer. It was just a cheap replica. It wasn't battle ready. It was just museum quality. It was just a long short. I had one great sword, which I didn't realize was a great sword because I didn't check the measurements. They had I'll see if I can dig out some photos of them. It had claws for a handguard, and I just had one arming sword, which the handle was it had these wire wrapping around it that just chafed my hand so much. I ended up wrapping my own handle wrap around it, and I also bought a cheap-ass katana. The bog standard weeaboo thing.
I feel like that's always the first sword, if anyone ever collects, is usually some form of katana.
Yeah, and
they are cool swords. It's a classic style.
Yeah.
So
this one was awful though. The blade was not curved in the Japanese style. They'd basically just taken the standard blade from a rapier, a curved cavalry sword. So the handguard had a dragon head on it, and it dipped downwards. So you had the flat handguard, which when you're holding a sword, you're supposed to have your hand gripping just below the handguard for maximum leverage. But I couldn't do that. I had to move my hand a couple of inches down the blade because there's this dragon head dipping down. I could not, for the life of me, figure out what the point of that was.
Yeah.
If I had that now, I would file it off and solder it back on or something now. But I was only 15 when I got this thing, so I didn't have those sort of tools. So yeah, I had two basically absolutely practically useless swords. My first sword, things that made me obsessed with swords was Rufio's sword from Hook.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which I'm planning to see if I can
goldy
replicate. It is,
sword.
a little bronzy looking number.
Yeah.
So it's got a coconut for a handguard.
That's
and
right.
no pommel.
Yeah.
The other one was the sword from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, the BBC version that Peter gets, which is, again, a pretty bog standard sword. But
I can't really picture it, but
Yeah, the idea of someone giving a child a sword and that our child just has a sword now. was for me, that blew my mind. And then I actually like the sword a lot more from the remake. They made a really nice sword for that.
It did have. There was the costumes and weaponry, especially in that first movie, were pretty flawless. They're really. You could tell they put a lot of effort.
I really liked that film. That was the sequel was disappointing, as we discussed recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, that first one, I thought these guys really did get Narnia, and they put so much work into this. And that battle scene is like Lord of the Rings level good. They did probably rip off Lord of the Rings pretty severely, but and there's also another. I watched another film recently. I realised where they took influence for that. When they had the big battle scene where they're charging in, and then the sound just cuts out, and then they slam together, and the sound doesn't come back in immediately. It's only once Peter actually makes contact with someone that the sound comes back in. I saw that they borrowed that from another movie, but I can't remember what it was now.
I only own one technical weapon. It was one that my dad made for me. You actually see it in my backdrop. It's the wooden stake with the fake blood on it. Yeah.
That's okay. Would you like to make you a sword? I'm making swords now.
Good evening, Dominic. My name is Beelzebub. And I had a question for you, since you mentioned the Q&A in your video. My question to you was, do you feel like you make videos primarily to suit what you know will be popular amongst your fans and audience, or that you make videos primarily that you want to make, regardless of how well you think it'll do? And number two, if you do make videos, if you ever don't do a video specifically because you think it won't do very well, what is one project that you would love to do yourself that you would never try just because you know it would bomb and no one would watch it?
It's actually, the answer to whether I do things that are popular or do things for myself actually changed recently, as I was just chasing the popular things. I mean, Lost in Adaptation is almost always, with some exceptions, chosen by Patreon. There's a very, very, very long list of paid reviews to work through. With the book reviews, for a long time I was just chasing the high views. I was just chasing the bizarre romances, so me struggling out of my depth. And then recently I just came to a revelation that I really had, for the sake of my well-being, had to read some books that I really liked. So I've started doing a bit more passion projects. They've sort of been bombing views-wise, because I just think the interest isn't there. And this isn't like trying to shame you guys for not watching these videos or anything like that. It's, perfectly fine. But so I don't think I can keep doing these passion projects for much longer, because it is going to start killing the analytics on my channel, which is a shame, but they serve their purpose. I had a good couple of months.
I would say you do have your limits, though. Like, you do try to do things that are more trending or are going to get more views, but I have seen you say no to people's requests before. Because you have your limits. Like, I know there was the book in particular, Lovely Bones, just because it was a little too much of a triggering.
Fault in Our Stars is another one that I've said, listen, I'm not in a good place enough to
you don't want to
this.
really read a book about a kid that dies.
It was another one that was really, when the movies were coming out, it would have been a really good time to do it, but I failed to get through that book.
Also, that book's super long.
It is super long. But
super long.
Yeah, I could not get past the scene at the beginning where the young gay man is murdered.
I don't think you could have watched the sequel movie either. It's pretty brutal. It's a brutal recreation of it. I remember, because I had read the book, I told Corey about it to brace himself. I'm like, hey, I heard that they literally begin this movie with that. And we're like, okay, maybe we'll be fine. And then we're watching, we're like, oh my God. It can come off a bit exploitative, especially when you take someone from an underrepresented or misrepresented group, and they're not even a character in the book. Like, because the gay man that dies, he's not a character. He's more just to set you up for the horrors in that town.
Yeah.
But
it's just
it's
the
one thing to use
detail
it.
Was just so much. Because they set up this guy and his boyfriend and their hopes and dreams, and then they kill him, and then the monster turns up not to kill the bullies, but to finish him off. Another popular one that I was sort of considering doing was Ready Player 2 when that came out. But there was another case of, I heard that there was a lot of issues with gender portrayal, and he was falling back into his old habits of
Which I was not
horrific-
shocked by the way he represented women in the first book in general.
Yeah, so there's all these problematic elements, and I actually liked a lot of the first one. I did definitely see that it was deeply problematic, but I got a kick out of some of the scenes, and I liked the way that he really thought about gaming culture and toxic internet culture, and worked it into the story. But I just I wasn't in a great place when that was coming out, so a lot of people were talking about it. I just said, guys, I'm sorry, I just don't want to read Ready Player 2. I can't do it. I know it would be good for, I know there's a big hype about it. I know videos about it are doing well, but I'm not feeling very happy right now, and I can't bring myself to read a book that's going to frustrate me. So yeah, I just said no. So yeah, I do chase the trends a bit, because you have to as a YouTuber. You do,
but
to a certain extent. But
I would say do it within your comfort zone.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I do have a limit to what I can do, especially at the moment in these pandemic times, and what I have this mental strength for. So it's a mix of both. The second part of the question was like, what would I do if I wasn't afraid about underperforming? Yeah. So there's a lot of. I'd probably talk a lot more about like very, very obscure books that I've liked or enjoyed. There's more sort of. It's going to sound really weird, but almost vloggy style things that I would have liked to have tried out. I always want to do more videos about the conventions I went to, and
you can always make a secondary channel
to
do that.
That's
what a lot of YouTubers do. They make like a secondary channel to do the more free-form videos, or that niche little video they want to do, but they know it might fuck up the analytics.
That's the thing. With the way YouTube works at the moment is you're severely punished for underperforming videos. It used to be put whatever videos you can on your channel, just put everything up. It's you're selling. You want to do your main show, your side shows, everything on the same channel. You just want them minutes and views. But now if there's a video that underperforms compared to the rest of your videos, that can actually have
stops recommending you
you'll
immediately.
Exactly, yeah. You'll fall out of grace with YouTube, and you're kind of fucked. So now it's like you have to go with the bangers and just the bangers.
Which I feel like has led to a lot of YouTuber burnout, because especially when you feel pigeonholed in something, it can be very stressful.
Yeah.
I'm not saying for everyone, but I know it can be very, very stressful. I've seen a lot of big YouTubers where it's like, they used to do many different kinds of videos, but then the one type of video blew up, and because of how the analytics are now, if they don't keep doing that one type of video, which unfortunately is usually your higher quality, longer form, more well-researched.
Yeah, because they want it to be long, but they also want it to be high quality. So one of the things I was considering, I probably pitched this to you at one point, is I wanted to start doing bizarre challenges. Like, what I would do is I would pick one friend with a particular skill set, and I would say, can you I obviously paid them to do this, but I would say, if you can read this book, then what we'll do is we'll meet up and you can try and teach me this specific skill set while we're also trying to review and synopsisize this book at the same time, so it's a challenge. So if it was Garrett, I was going to ask Garrett to give me like a guitar lesson while we're trying to synopsize his favorite book. I was going to ask you for like a makeup tutorial while we talk about Pride and Prejudice or or something from Jane Eyre, something you're very familiar with. So it was meant to be like a vlog style challenge. Can I get through a cognitive, coherent discussion of this book while also trying to learn a completely new skill? But that's the thing that's so out of my current range of what I do. I know it's too big a risk for the main channel, so that would be the kind of thing I would start for a smaller channel. But I mean, we're so snowed under with work just constantly at the moment. We're talking about maybe reducing output for a little bit at least, but we're not there right now. So yeah, it's just time as much as anything else. I don't have time to sink into something that isn't going to pay off in a big way. So yeah, there's stuff like that. There's more creative things that are a bit out of my usual wheelhouse that I keep thinking that would be nice, but A, I don't have time, and B, if this doesn't pull numbers, YouTube will bury me. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
What about you? You've ever thought about trying out new things on your channel?
I mean, that's kind of what I did. I used to do movie reviews, and that was such like a tough market to get into, because unless you got there at the beginning, no one would, like, I pulled in some views, but it kept dipping after the whole Star Wars video, and then I could just never get my videos out in time because I didn't really get access to a lot of premieres or early screenings, because I was also working a day job, so I couldn't go to a lot of the screenings. And then all the trendy movies, I liked some, and then the ones that did well were the movies that I absolutely hated, and that was a lot to put myself through, and then to try to edit, write that out, and like those videos on a good week would take me 3 days to do. I would do them in 3 days.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it would.
But you do have to have that high turnaround if it's a new movie that just came out. If you're talking things that may affect people's desire to see it, you have to reach that trending immediately.
And then I just kind of realized it wasn't my niche. It wasn't what I know a lot about movies and TV shows, but it wasn't like what I really like wanted to focus on. And it did take me a while, because originally, I had always wanted to do something on Xena, but I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to actually watch it. Like, I was like, because I don't see, I know people talk about Xena, but I don't see a lot of videos covering it. So I was like, all right, well, I got to do something, because I was like, I can't, like, I was doing the occasional video essay, and then I did my first Xena video, and it did really well for my channel. So I was like, okay, all right. So I lucked out. There was an untapped market for Xena. I mean, I am still working on this newest video. I mostly do when I have time, because I work on his channel, and then I do a lot of stuff at home, and then I work on the project basically when I'm available to. So I try not to stress myself out too much about it, because it's not my main source of income. But yeah, doing that, and my whole vibe with canceled TV. I collect DVDs of canceled TV shows. So
yeah, it was an excellent decision for you, because it brought out this is where you shone. This is the knowledge that you had, and more than
and
much
they've been
more
doing
the average
well.
person.
Like there's been a good response. I mean, there will be canceled TV shows I will be revisiting, because I kind of like look at what numbers, like what has the most engagement. So far, it's been a lot of. I mean, I mostly do supernatural and fantasy-based canceled TV, because it seems. I mean, that's what my comfort zone. So I might even be going back to like Moonlight. Moonlight, really, I was not expecting. I knew it had a fan base, but I didn't know it had that loyal of a fan base. So everyone kind of came out to watch the video.
It's the werewolf one, right?
No, that's the vampire one.
Oh.
Yeah, Moonlight's a vampire show.
I'm not going to question it. Oh, Twilight, Moonlight. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Actually, it was originally called Twilight because it was going to come out like
I did watch your episode, I promise.
Yeah.
I have a terrible memory. I remember I used to advise you to stop doing like 50-minute videos because you got to keep getting things out all the time. You got to split these things up.
At the time, that is how it was.
At the time, it was. Nowadays it's like no, stick that shit together. Like that's what YouTube wants now. It wants that delicious watch time. So the longer the video is, the more likely to get watch time. So
so I don't know when those two projects will come out. I don't think they'll be coming out this year. Just from how I know.
I know how busy you are because I know your boss is a bit of an asshole who works really hard. So
I've had overbearing bosses. Like you're not even close to that tier.
Maddie. Hey Dom, I know you got a lot of these coming your way, so I'll make this one quick. First of all, I always enjoy it when you play multiple characters in your skits. I'll put one example up here. So my question is, how do you get the timing just right for when there's lots of characters or the skit goes on for a long time? Does someone feed you your lines, or is it just trial and error? Second of all, who's your favourite comedian, living or dead? So yeah, that's about it. Thanks man, take care.
Actually, I would like to know this because I remember when you were filming me for the Born Identity thing, I was like, how's he going to get this timing right? Because you did have me do multiple takes because it was like you already had in your head when you were going to cut something.
Yeah, no, having a very strong visual imagination helps with that because I can envision exactly how I want to do it. A lot of it is cheating and editing. The trick, so this is the secret, this is the look behind the curtain, breaking the magician's code. It's all about cutting out the clips and fast forwarding them or slowing them down. Okay. Because I mean, if I was working with someone else, I could probably get the timing better than I do because I could have them read the other lines. But because I'm working on my own, I'm just trying to remember the timing of it. So every single one of those scenes, will be out of timing when I first put them on the editing. And then what I'll do is, if there's a scene where one of the DOMs isn't talking, that will be cut, isolated, and then usually either fast cranked or slow motion slightly, so that then the timings fit perfectly. So you can sometimes see it if you're watching really closely, like even in the opening to Scarlet Pimpernel, I did not leave enough time for me to read chapter 26, The Jew, before I did the spit take. So it sort of does this slow motion thing. I got this. Slow motion, spit take. So it's 100% not me timing it perfectly when I'm filming it. It's all adjusting and editing by. The trick to it is to keep still if you're not the Dom talking, if you're not the one who's having to do the actual action. If you keep relatively still, no one can tell that clip is in slow motion, and then you extend that until then your return line starts exactly after they're finished.
Okay. So. Yeah, I was gonna say I really liked the secondary, the two-parter Scarlet Pimpernel sketch where you ended up with the fuck off thing. Yeah. I thought, because it really did come off very seamless when you had your other selves walking past and you were I don't know, it played off very well. So I was kind of curious how you did that. Yeah,
that's all it's, like I said, I'd love to say that I have some sort of perfect recall like Jet Li or something and can know exactly how to redo a scene. But it's not. It is literally just all editing tricks. Was there any follow-up questions there? Was that the whole thing?
What's your favorite comedian?
Oh, Eddie Izzard. Very easy question. She's an absolute genius.
I've always loved her.
Oh, she's so good.
Obsessed with what was her that one stand-up? Was it Dressed to Kill?
That was one.
Yeah, I love
one of her best. Yeah, she did Sexy spelt wrong.
Yes.
Dressed to Kill. I saw her live at the Echo Arena in Liverpool. It was so funny, so funny. She did the giraffe cough sketch.
I love her a lot. Yeah, I've always loved her. My dad is very big on British comedy, so I've seen a lot of British comedians, all the TV shows. So I grew up with a bunch of that, and yeah, I've always loved Eddie in particular.
John Mulaney's a second place, I think. I'm very fond of him. Discovered him fairly recently.
I've seen a few of his stuff.
Years ago.
Not a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, I can Eddie Izzard was integral to my childhood. Me and my sister would quote her constantly. Last month, I played Pushing Up Roses, a clip, just the one where she was talking about Hitler being a vegetarian and an artist. And it was I cannot get the trees right. I shall kill everyone in the world. And she did not stop quoting. That was just all I showed her, and she's quoted that constantly ever since.
I loved her her satirizing foreign films, the difference between American films and foreign films. Oh God, I love that one a lot. Or her version of God and how they came up with the different animals.
Jesus and stuff. Yeah.
Or how the country invaded each other. Do you have a flag?
Do you have a flag? Thank you for flying, Church of England. Kick or death. Yeah, so quotable. Yeah, so that was good question. Good question.
Hi, Dom. First of all, congratulations on getting over 200,000 subscribers. So my question for you is, if you were a high school English teacher, what are some books that you would assign to your students?
Well, I mean, first of all, being severely dyslexic, we have reached the point in society when I am teaching English, we are fucked. We have regressed to the dark ages, or I have been blasted back in time to 1610 or something, where most people are illiterate and I'm the most illiterate person in the village. That is the only circumstance where I would be qualified to teach English. I mean, that is just kind of a sneaky way of asking what books do you would you recommend to people?
Knowing the books I had to suffer through in high school, first off, more female authors, because it was a sausage fest when I would have my reading list.
Right, America has required reading, don't you? Because that's not really a thing in the UK. There were two books that I did read in school. One was Brother in the Land, which is a post-nuclear war story. The other one was Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, which was about a free, this is post-slavery Mississippi in America, but it's a family that deals obviously a lot of racism. That one I felt was very moving, was, very important. So yeah, I think if I was actually doing it as part of a curriculum, I would try to prioritize stories that maybe aren't taught as a main thing. We probably have enough European history told. Let's tell... maybe I might try some African story, like African history.
I would say, definitely try to find different cultures. I remember only reading one that wasn't a Eurocentric or American. It was there was two of them. One was about the internment camps in, was it Japan or China? I think it was Japan. And it was about two guys surviving during that and trying to get out. Why can't I think of the name, though? Of course I can't remember the name. And then the other one was Joy Luck Club, which was about immigrants coming into the States and then trying to make a life for themselves. But it was a vignette. It was like different stories. It was about like their kids. It was about them. I really, really like that one a lot.
So I guess the criteria we're looking for is,
open the kids' minds, get them different perspectives.
But also, maybe try to increase. We could have some books about
maybe not Catcher in the Rye.
LGBTQ or something.
Yes, that too. I think I more enjoyed plays that I had to read, not just Shakespeare. 12 Angry Men, Inherit the Wind was a really good one.
Okay.
I really liked those. As far as novels that I actually like, I think if we're going to be forced to read things like Ethan Frome, let's just read Jane Eyre at that point. Ethan Frome, is just about really shitty people. But yeah, I think it's just more, I don't know, I would have to really think about it and organize a book list, but I think it should just be more from different cultures, different perspectives, more
LGBTQ.
Yeah, I'm tongue-tied here. More of that, not just the ones the same 15 books over and over again.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just trying to think, if you had to choose 3 from that we've covered on the show.
That we've covered on the show? Yeah. Pride and Prejudice, first of all.
Good choice.
You need to see the progenitor of, because, rom-coms are always put down upon, but it's such a well-articulated book. It's especially if you want to learn some new adjectives. That, I would say, Earthsea was really, really, really good.
True,
but more for thematic-wise. There's a lot of great introspective, especially if you are a teenager in high school and you're going through a lot of feelings, and it really goes against the grain of, toxic masculinity. So
that's true.
It's very much hey, be in tune with your emotions. Don't, hey, we all make really horrible mistakes. Sometimes there are horrible consequences that go in with it, but it isn't too late to change for the better.
It's never too late to try and make up for it.
And I think that's something we don't teach kids enough. We make kids afraid of making mistakes or owning up to mistakes. And I think that's such a terrible thing to teach kids. It should be, and also teaching kids that people have to forgive you, I think is also such a wrong thing. I think it should be, hey, own up to your mistakes. Be okay with the fact that just because you've asked for someone's forgiveness doesn't mean that they're going to give it to you. And you have to be okay with that.
You're not owed it.
Yeah, you're not owed it. And I think reading books like that really would help.
You're going to see me making some pained expressions while you were talking when you're doing editing. It's only because the adaptation was coming back to me.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, they don't have to watch the movie.
No,
more just book. Yeah, don't watch the movie.
Yeah, no, talking about the books. It was just you mentioned that goes against the toxic masculinity thing. They really added that back in for the film.
Ugh. I would say Earthsea, Pride and Prejudice. Honestly, Prestige, just for how unique the setup was.
Yeah.
It was. I wouldn't do it for an English class. I would do it for a creative writing class. I read a lot of interesting books for creative writing because that was more about like different styles of writing, and I thought that was such an interesting form because it kind of reminded me of Dracula, where Dracula is all in journal entries and newspaper clippings, which is such a unique format. So I would say Prestige for a creative writing course, not so much English.
I mean, just because when I was at school, I wished that we could read interesting stories, not these grounded things.
Yes.
I would probably choose Raybearer.
Raybearer is definitely one.
Maybe, I mean, Dreadnought is the only thing I have reviewed from a trans author, so that would have to put that in. Might not be the most educational books from a writing perspective or an English perspective, but...
Well, yeah, that one I would put more in a creative writing course. I think it's definitely something you should read, especially if you want to be more well-rounded perspective.
I consider it as an excellent way of learning about the trans experience through an interest. Like if you have no basis to start with, this is an excellent way to start because you've got the familiarity of a superhero setting.
Yes.
And it introduces you to these concepts like gender dysphoria. So I feel that's something we could teach to more kids. I mean, again, I know you said English class, so we're meant to be picking things that are about the writing, not about the story or
and
messages.
then in that case, definitely Raybearer, Pride and Prejudice, Earthsea. I think those are really interesting books too. Raybearer especially is a great soft introduction to an entirely different culture.
So yeah, I think that's
about it.
Like I said, I would still say, first answer, do not make me an English teacher under any circumstances. I will ruin a generation of children. They will have such bad English skills.
Hello, Dom. McLeod here. So I was just wondering, have you ever read any biographies? And if so, which one was the most interesting to you?
Biographies, Smeg.
I have one, but...
Yeah, no, you go ahead, because I'm going to have to think. Really hard.
I read the one that George Allen wrote on himself about him and Gracie. He was a vaudeville entertainer who had like a sitcom. He was also in that movie, I think it was with John Denver, I think it was called Dear God or Oh God or something like that, where he played God.
Sure.
He's very, very funny, and his biopic was... It was a really fun read. He's a really good storyteller, though. Because there are certain, like, I love Katharine Hepburn. I did listen to the audiobook of her biography. Oh, God, it's a slog. It's just all over the place. You don't really learn anything new. But she's also a very private person, so I was kind of surprised she wanted to do it. And it doesn't really, it wasn't a good read. I'll say that. But I think that's the one that I read and really stuck out to me, though.
I'm trying to think. Like, I have a few that I've been meaning to read. I have Barack Obama's audiobook of his biography on Audible, and I'm just waiting for a chance to actually listen to it. But the most recent one I read was Mara Wilson's Where Am I Now?
Oh, yeah, I heard that was good.
I liked it. It was very moving. She talks a lot about her struggles with depression and when she developed like a body dysmorphic sort of thing when she aged up out of acting and stuff like that, and she had anxiety and OCD. It made me ugly cry on a plane to the UK because I was listening to it on audiobook, and so I mean, to be fair, I was flying to my grandfather's funeral, so I was also already quite emotional, but. Yeah, so I did sort of get a sense of, I was like, my God, how can this one poor woman have to deal with so much shit in her life? And then she got to the part where Robin Williams died, and I was done. I was like, I read something by Craig Charles, he's a minor actor in the UK, who played Lister from Red Dwarf.
Okay.
There was another biography I'm trying to remember. I read a bit of Stephen Fry's autobiography. I just didn't have time to finish it.
I'm more likely to watch a biography-like style documentary on someone than read a book. If I do read a book, I would prefer it's by the person.
Sure.
Because when they just get a biographer, I don't know, there's something about it that feels impersonal. But I do know it's hard to, if you're not a writer, you know? So I get that. But so there isn't too many books. I've watched plenty of biographical documentaries, but that's different medium.
Dom, 2 questions for you. Are you ever going to do a review of a reverse adaptation? That being a book that is actually based on a movie rather than a movie based on a book. And the second question, you ever think of what are the chances of you doing a Pokemon themed video. Such as this one?
He should have sent this to Ilnedge because I've got...
I was like, you should have sent this to my boyfriend. I mean, like, because he really likes Pokemon.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. Yeah, he grew up with Pokemon. He's like into all the movies, the TV shows, the video games. Yeah, he's way into Pokemon. I'm the one who's like, I saw the first 2 seasons of that one show.
I love
and I saw the first movie. That was about it.
Yeah, I was one of those boomers of Pokemon. Was like, past the first 150, I can't be doing them. They get silly after that. No,
Turns you Irish?
No, it's my impression of an old British boomer.
Oh.
Back in my day, it's like Yorkshire.
Gotcha, yeah.
Back in my day, they used to have 450 Pokemon. They were all bangers. You can't have any silly, these fairy ones and that. No, I'm mostly kidding because there's silly, very, very silly Pokemon in the first 150. There's perfectly good ones in the later ones, but I have extremely, extremely fond memories of the first couple of seasons of the anime when I was a kid, and I really loved the games, like the first couple of games. But I just sort of I'm not I love Pokemon, but I don't feel the need to get into the...
I don't think there's really enough material for you to really cover a video about, because no... Like, what would you even cover? You know what I mean? It's not really your genre of YouTube.
Am I comparing the games to the films, I guess? That'd be weird. But the answer is a flat-out 100% no, simply because I don't fuck with anime. The only time my channel almost got taken down was when I fucked with Studio Ghibli.
Studio Ghibli is actually notorious for being very coveted with their stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Japan in general is a lot harsher with it, just simply because they have different laws for fair use.
Yeah.
And that's fair. I mean, so anything that is even remotely Japanese or specifically anime is a hard, solid no, forever no, sorry. The answer to the first question is also no. Simply because I don't want to. Novelizations of films tend to be fairly similar. It is usually just a description of the film, and it's usually not very good.
No, especially movie time books, like you just said, they're basically just the script with like a lot of added thoughts and...
There are exceptions. I have heard very good things, oddly enough, about Return of the Sith. There's a book tie-in to when they wrote for Return of the Sith. It's apparently very good. They got a very good author to do it. They're getting better at it these days, where they're hiring legitimate science fiction authors to adapt this. But you have to think about from a practical side of things how that would work from a format-wise. Because with a film, I can show you on screen what they have changed. With the book, I am just describing these things.
Yeah.
So am I going to show the appropriate clip from the film and say this was just constantly say this was different in the book? It would all be the left out section where I can't show you what's not there. I do get that question a lot. It's one of the ones I've gotten enough to have in my frequently asked questions on my website, dominic-noble.com. There's a few FAQs there, but I don't begrudge people for asking it. But the answer, at least at the moment, is I have just no interest in doing that.
Hey Dominic, first of all, really big fan, absolutely love your work. Listening to your videos honestly helps get through my work days a lot easier. My question is, do you have any specific conditions for doing a Lord of the Rings Lost in adaptation? And if you do, what would they be? Like maybe hitting a set Patreon goal or something, I don't know? Just curious about that. Hope you keep up the good work and hit 300,000 very soon.
Oh, thanks, dude. Between the tank top and the fact he's in his garage, it looks like he's just finished working out.
It's possible.
So, because he looked pretty jacked as well. Right, he's like the Lord of the Rings thing. I'm actually I kept moving the goalposts for that because originally I said I want it to be the last Lost in adaptation I ever do. I want to make sure I am the most good at this. Is that a sentence? I am the best. I am the best adaptation reviewer I could possibly be before I review this. And then I was like, I could monetize this. So I'd already set it as a Patreon goal. I actually did that 4 years ago.
Oh,
that was if I got 1,000 patrons, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So I got like way more. So yeah, I actually passed the goal for that ages ago. And it was simply I kept putting it off because I was like, I'm still not quite ready yet. What I actually realized is Lord of the Rings, the reason I'm so scared of it is there's just so much to talk about. There's so much content to be got out of it. I could never put this into one video. I couldn't even put this into a trilogy for each movie.
No.
What I'm going to do is, starting next month, probably the next video you see after this, I'm going to start doing very specific Lord of the Rings content. So it will be scenes or characters or specific things books to Nick. So what I'm toying with at the moment is like top 5 characters left out of The Fellowship of the Ring. Subtitle, it's not Tom Bombadil. Then the idea came from me because I say recently, like a little while ago, I discovered a new YouTuber I wasn't aware of until then called Hello Future Me, Tim. I was on his live stream at one point. And he does Lord of the Rings content, and he sometimes talks about the book, and he just does specific subjects. And that was like a moment for me. It's like, wait, I could do that. I don't have to force myself to cover every detail of the book. I could pick an interesting thing and just talk about it. This is a game changer. Although, why did that never occur to me before? But I guess, I got into the habit of just feeling like it has to be the whole cake. So.
But yeah, there's a lot of ground to cover in Lord of the Rings. So,
yeah. So I just reread Fellowship of the Ring specifically for it, and it's so fucking good. That is pure comfort book for me.
Aww.
So that was nice. I got the audiobook specifically because I wanted to start working on because I'm doing swordsmithing as a hobby now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was out there on my grinder, like trying to shave down this blade, listening to Gimli like sing, because there's so much singing in Lord of the Rings, and the audiobook narrator felt the need to sing it all.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never listened to the audiobook. I read it years ago. But
you sort of, the habit is to skip over the songs when you're reading it, which they chose not to do. So I'm just like, and you don't realise how long these songs go on for till you're hearing a British bloke singing to your ear about it. And it's like, Legolas in particular sang like a 7-stanza song. I'm like, come on Legolas, move it along, we're going to get that ring to Mordor. Oh, we got production value in this one.
Oh, hey Dom. Hey, as long as I got you,
Nice
I was
swords.
wondering, with Percy Jackson joining Series of Unfortunate Events and his Dark Materials in the Second Chance Club, I was wondering, what adaptation would you like to see get another shot at greatness? Keep up the good work, man.
Nice keyblade.
Yeah, you're probably wondering about this. I kind of let it slip that I hate JoJo. Ah, crap, here they come again.
Hey,
take care, man.
Like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
The one that always springs to mind is the Sharp books.
I actually was just thinking, like, he's probably going to say the Sharp
gonna say
books, because
Sharp
I
books.
remember your video about how depressed you were, how...
I know, it's so weird, yeah. I used to love them when I was a kid, then I read the books and found out just how they were just not able to do them justice.
Isn't Sean Bean in it?
Yeah, Sean Bean, back when he was one of the few things he didn't die in. So he...
Young Sean Bean was a looker. I used to watch a bunch of it. I watched another adaptation he was in where, what is it called? Lady Chatterley's Lover. Just all ass, almost the entire miniseries.
Oh my.
It's a sex book. Even Mad Men references it. That's the one where all the office girls are talking about, like, have you read Lady Chatterley's? It's an older book. It's older than, like, 60s, but, yeah.
Okay, so do you have a one that comes to mind for a redo?
For a redo?
I mean, Earthsea is a tempting one to say.
Earthsea is a good one. I kind of wish they would do like a TV show out of the books. I think you have but more like anthology, because I think what I'm afraid of that they would do is try to connect them all when really there's like decades that are in between the books.
A lot of them star Ged, but he's so much older, he's basically a different person.
Yeah, I was going to say, only half of the book series stars Ged, because it flip-flops.
That's right, because the second one's more aha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it kind of flip-flops between that. And then she kind of ages them out and introduces new characters. I'm honestly still hung up on that. Anne McCaffrey's books still haven't gotten any kind of adaptation. Which was because when she was alive, she refused most of them.
So I do respect her wishes. I would also love to see some...
I feel like now with our technology, we could get a decent
We could do it
one,
decently, yeah. What was her reasoning, do you know, for not wanting it adapted?
It was just more if they wanted to make any changes that she didn't agree with. She just had a lot of control over it. So it was just more if something wasn't to her liking, she would say no.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the Dragon Riders of Pern series at some point. Maybe there's a...
But yeah, that's one I still want to see an adaptation of. But there is no adaptation of it at all, so...
So the point where so many people have taken influence from it, it may not seem that original.
I know. Just at least to get Dragonflight. I just want at least Dragonflight.
Is that the one with time travel at the end?
Yeah, with Lessa. Oh my god, I love Lessa.
That was really good.
Why can't I think of her dragon's name? It starts with an R. It's not Ragnarok, but it sounds like it should be. It's like Ragnar. It's a she. It's a queen dragon.
Is it Ramoth?
Is it Ramoth?
There was a big queen dragon golden dragon called Ramoth in it. I don't know if it was hers.
I think it's hers because I know it started with an R.
Right. That was actually my online handle for the longest time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, whenever I was playing an online video game, I called myself Ramoth.
Yeah.
I figured the name could be gender neutral.
Yeah, I have 2 different physical copies of it. I have my dad's old college version where it's just falling apart at the seams because it was a very well-loved book. And then I have the first trilogy in one book.
Dear the Dom.
And Spider-Man.
What are your thoughts on comic book adaptations? Do you prefer them to be...
So loud.
He's so intense.
Page to screen? Or is taking an MCU approach all right? And please, bring back Terrence.
The thing is, I feel hesitant to have a strong opinion on this because comic books aren't really my jam. So I feel like someone who's a hardcore comic fan would feel differently. I personally have been favoring the MCU approach of like, it's sort of got a similar sort of title, and that's about it. But I haven't read any of the appropriate comic books. Watchmen, especially Zack Snyder's Watchmen, had lots of problems, but from an aesthetic perspective and from an adaptation reviewer perspective, I respected that he did use, he was page to screen. So I don't really have a strong opinion, simply because I feel I don't care enough about comic books to really have one. But, so yeah, if like a comic book fan has a much stronger opinion, I say, more power to you. I have strong opinions about books, so.
For me, it's like, I think it's just, I'm a lot more looser with adaptations. I'm totally okay with people taking liberties as long as you still maintain the main core of what makes it work. Like, because like what you just said with Watchmen, I don't like Zack Snyder's Watchmen because, yeah, it is page for page, but he's completely missing the point. Completely misses the point of what makes that comic book work. And puts his own themes into it. And it's like, this doesn't work. Because, like, he made, like, for example, Rorschach is too much of an anti-hero in his film, where in the graphic novel, you're not supposed to agree with him. You're like, wow, you're nuts.
He's meant to be almost a foil for the other characters.
And, and even the way they change, like, the worst part about him is the way they change his death. The way he dies, like, Owlman going, no, at that, no, dude, no. I mean...
Someone who did a much, much, much better review of that adaptation than I did was Maggie Mayfish. I don't know if you're familiar with
yeah, I love Maggie Mayfish. Yeah, I've seen that video.
That video was one of those things where I realized I've just been playing, like, paddling in the shadow. Like, what's the saying? I was paddling around on the beach while there was a whole ocean of possibilities in front of me. I realized mine was such a surface level review, whereas she seemed to actually genuinely understand what each interpretation was saying, and that was a wake up moment for me. I was like, I need to step up my game.
Honestly, I love her video series on Zack Snyder's work because she really articulated why I don't like his films. I was like, that's why I don't like his films. I could never really get it on.
That's the kind of reviewer that finally puts form to what's been subconsciously bothering you for ages. I watched her one about the Octopus Man. So disturbing. So Terrence, I do intend to bring back the show. Has kind of moved on from that sort of thing. I used to do storyline things. Now I think I take myself a little too seriously now, which is probably a problem. Another problem is doing the Terrence voice. It would fuck up my vocal cords.
I was gonna say, I don't think you can really do it health-wise anymore.
He talks like the Scarlet Pimpernel in that he has a very deep vocal fry drawl. So I'd have to change Terrence's voice. I will bring him back. It's just I feel
like you should bring him back for in the occasional sketch. I don't think as a full-on storyline.
Like, definitely when these Percy Jackson things come out, because that's why I reinvented him. He will definitely come out for that.
That makes sense.
I'll tell you what, to keep you guys going, I'll see if I can film a little update on what he's up to, because he's off in Camp Half-Blood right now. So I'll try and include something like that here. And then, if this bit is blank, I got too lazy. Ouch. Right, big boy. Let's put some grilled steak on the menu tonight.
Hey Dominic, super huge fan of the channel, have been a long time watcher since the very beginning, love your stuff. So for the Q&A, I got 2 questions for you. 1, out of everything you've read, what is one character that you feel the most kinship with, that you've connected to the very most? And for 2, what are some predictions that you have for the upcoming Percy Jackson series on Disney+? Could be good, it could be bad. That's it for me, keep on being my favorite YouTuber, see you in 2021.
I mean,
she was adorable.
Yeah, that it means, I know it's weird that I've been doing this for a long time now, and I do hear that occasionally, but it means the world to me every time I hear it.
Well, yeah, of course, because you put a lot of effort into your videos. You hope someone likes it, you know?
I felt a brief spike of panic because, unfortunately, the ones that I tend to are not good characters. I describe myself as a recovering asshole. I went through a phase of extreme toxicity and assholery. I wouldn't say I was as far as being an incel, but I was definitely problematic. And I've been trying to make up for that for a while now, because I deeply saddened that it just never occurred to me just how not okay that behavior was. So unfortunately, one of the people I related to was Wade from Ready Player One.
Okay.
Because he has like, I don't know, the sense of entitlement he had, the sense of loneliness that he was sort of resentful about. Like, he wasn't sure who he was angry towards, but he knew he was angry towards being alone and not getting what he wants. And so I don't think I was as bad as Wade, but I did relate to his directionless anger, unfortunately. So the other person, along similar sort of lines, I related very hard to Scott Pilgrim of the comic book series.
Okay.
More so, fortunately, with him in the way that he went through his own arc.
I was gonna say that one's I think is a really healthy character to relate to, because people are supposed to be flawed and learn to overcome mistakes and anything they want to make better about themselves. Then he does recognize that towards the end. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, the film doesn't get to do that, but also the comic book wasn't even done being written yet when they were filming.
I tried to be gentle towards that film because I actually love the film. I love Edgarise directing so much. But reading the comic book series, it's like, wow, they actually do miss out on a lot, because this guy has a motherfucking arc that he doesn't have in the film.
Yeah. Well, the comic book creator was very much attached to the creative process of the film. So
but there's only so much you can do when it's not done.
Exactly, yeah. So
and you have to squeeze it. You have to squeeze it down. So yeah, I think that was the conclusion of my 6-part series, was that they did their best. They did an interesting job, but a lot of stuff gets lost when you have to do a single movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that I guess was so I related to him because he did eventually strive to be a better person, which I'm desperately trying to do.
Well, then who would you say what character inspired you to be better, like to be like them? Do you have one like that?
I'm gonna have to think about that. Do you have any? You want to fill the gap in the meantime?
I would say I wish I was kicking myself for not reading the Earthsea books as a kid, because when I was reading Tombs of Atuan, I really felt Arha, that girl, you're told to be a certain way, you're built up to be a certain thing, not so much by a cult, but by, like more familial or school related, and then you realize it's like a fixed system and you feel kind of trapped and isolated and you feel different from everyone else, and her loss of identity, I mean, because she's called the Nameless One. So her identity is taken from her, and
literally
she kind of has to,
taken from her. Yeah.
So I felt like a strange kinship to that. Obviously, I didn't go through anything in as extreme, but just the way she handled it reminded me a lot of my younger self. I really liked Lessa a lot in Dragonflight. I was definitely an angry teenager, so her anger and frustration in her situation, but that she fought against it and made it her own in her shitty situation, because they tried to control her a lot in that book, and she's like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it did help. She lucked out in meeting someone like Flar, right?
I don't remember. I only remember Ramoth and Nemnoth because they're 2 dragon names. They're the only names I can remember from that.
Okay, yeah. I meant more with the guy, the human.
Gotcha.
There was a lot of F names. I think his was Flar.
I'm going to quickly look through because I'm like, fuck, what the fuck are we reviewed? I always do this.
Oh yeah, but in particular to those, I would say Arha reminds me of my younger self.
I can't say Percy Jackson because I was far too old to relate to that guy. by the time I read them.
But he's like, remind you of like a younger version of yourself at all, or anything?
He was what I would have wanted to be as a teen. I think, because he was awkward and he did have his trouble with talking to people, but he was just so energetic and so driven. And I didn't know I had ADHD at the time, but I knew I had dyslexia. So I think if I'd read that at the time, I would have related to him. I'm not nearly as cool as him, but he would have been someone I would have aspired to be. I am actually quietly optimistic for the Percy Jackson reboot because Rick Riordan, or however you're actually supposed to pronounce his name, I never get it right. Rick Riordan. I once made a joke that it sounds like one of the shouts from Skyrim. Rick Riordan.
I've never played Skyrim.
And this joke was wasted. But yeah, he's very involved. He pitched it to them. They gave him the full control over the script.
Never read the book, so I have nothing to go off of.
Yeah, he seems like a really good bloke. They call him Uncle Rick on Twitter because he's like the antithesis of all these problematic author faves. He's very very active.
I have heard nice things about him.
He stands up for trans rights and LGBTQ, all those things. He just seems like that's why I transferred Terrence to
Percy Jackson.
To the Percy Jackson series.
Hi Dominic, my question is, will you ever talk about more non-English speaking adaptations for the show, like The Shaman's Daughter and Easy Money?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I'm not opposed to it in any way.
I would love to do Let the Right One In, but that one might freak you out.
Probably. I'm a sensitive boy. I cannot handle the scary things or deep things.
Well, you did technically do one, though. Didn't you do Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
Yeah, it was that. That was. I read the English translation, obviously.
Well, obviously. But that is a foreign book.
Yeah. I most of those adaptations are chosen by Patreon, so I only have limited control over that. If I do get to the point where I want to bring in more things of my own choosing, then I'd love to do something. I do enjoy seeing these little cultural differences in the way people act and talk and idiosyncrasies like that.
I know there's a possibility of you doing Journey to the West.
Oh, Smeg, yes. I think I negotiated for just the first 10 chapters, which is better. But I know, what adaptation were we comparing it to?
I don't remember. It is in the Google Doc, though.
Yeah. I hope it's the really camp 60s.
I hope so too.
Japanese
That'd be fun.
Or Chinese version.
Journey to the West is definitely one. I think my first exposure to it was Dragon Ball as a kid.
Right, it's so influential. You don't realize how many things it's influenced until like bloody monkeys and everything.
Yeah. Yes.
As a disappointment to my family, are all massive Discworld fans. I've never actually read a Discworld novel. I think part of the reason is the Discworld series is so massive at this point with so many different books. I don't know where to start. My sister's always said never start with The Colour of Magic, and she recommended Mark. So I was wondering, as a big fan of the Discworld novels yourself, what book would you recommend a new reader going into the Discworld series to start with? I'm double dipping a wee bit. I'm also curious if there are any books that you would avoid reading in the Discworld series. Thank you.
Everyone asks you that.
I know. It's such a hard question to answer. There's no bad Discworld books, as far as I'm concerned. There's some that aren't as good as others. And unfortunately, the one that is the most not as good as others is the first one, The Colour of Magic. That's the first one he wrote.
That makes sense, though, if it's the first in a series.
Yeah, so Terry said, I never expected this book to be popular or get good. I did not give it my all. I wish I'd written a better book. I do struggle with this question a lot because the problem is when he first started, he wrote a lot of single one-off stories, and a lot of them were based in like different parts of the Discworld, and some of them are very specific. And it's like the Colour of Magic, while not the best book, does, because they actually travel around a lot of the Discworld in it, it does set up the world quite well, even if the story is a bit confusing and the writing's not as good. So it sets up the stage for you to have a better understanding of the Discworld for later books. The other reason I sometimes defend reading that one first is because it is not one of the better ones. I think people would still enjoy it, but they would enjoy it less when they read the later ones and see, if you come back to a not as good one, you might enjoy it less. So I am not as stringent as most people in saying don't start with Colour of Magic, but I do also acknowledge of all the Discworld books, it's the least good. But choosing another early one is difficult because there's pyramids, but that's the main setting of most, like the main location on the Discworld is Ankh-Morpork, which is like the 18th, 19th century London allegory. And not a lot of the one-off stories are set there. They're set in Kavach, or they're set in Patepik. No, that's like there's an Egypt allegory. There's a there's an allegory for like this world that's like kind of Greece, but also of like a Catholic ruling. What's it when a religion rules? It's a
Oh, I don't know.
Anarchy? No.
I'm an atheist.
No, like when there's a word for when a country is ruled by religion, it's an orthodoxy. I don't know.
Oh, an oligarchy?
No, oligarchy is noble rule.
I don't know.
Anyway, so there's a lot of things that are specific allegories for specific times and places, and I sometimes worry that if you start with that, you're not getting a general idea of the world before you go into a general and a specific thing. The same sort of problem with starting with Guards Guard, which is one of the first ones that actually became a running series, which is the police one, is that I think there's some assumption that he does always put a bit of a reminder of what the Discord is and what the deal is, but there's some stuff that you might be a bit confused about, like when Death turns up.
Oh, yeah.
Death isn't really... He hadn't really decided what he wanted from Death in the first one, because in the first one, Death was getting pissed off that Rincewind, the main character, wasn't dying, because he was supposed to have died. Whereas Death from the rest of the books onwards is so relaxed. He knows everyone's going to die. It doesn't matter when they do. He doesn't want you to die. He's just there to take your soul to the afterlife after they do. So nothing bothers him like that. So the ones I usually say is maybe grab like 3 of them. Maybe grab like Pyramids. That's a good one to start with. Small Gods, Moving Pictures. Okay, I'm going way more than 3. Guards, Equal Rights. Basically grab any of the first 10. And they will be a fine starting point if you accept that some things might be a little confusing.
Hey there, Dom. My name is Adam McLean. I wrote a self-published novel entitled DSO Files, The Search for Cerberus. DSO Files, The Search for Cerberus. I believe you may have a copy of it. If not, I am more than happy to provide you another one. Whenever you do your self-published author reviews again, I would love it if mine ended up on that list. Of course, I don't really feel the need to have you feel any obligation towards doing so. I just thought I would ask.
If this is the entire question, I respect the hustle.
Yeah, it is.
The entire question is, will you review my book? You know what?
Yeah.
I respect the go-getter attitude. I know I did make a very grand statement that I was going to start a whole series reviewing self-published books. I got a little burnt because it probably was partly that I just titled it and thumbnailed it very badly. But my first attempt to do that was the hardest bomb I'd had that year. Views-wise, no one cared. And I understand, it's not a book you've read, you're not a book you're particularly interested in, you're not going to watch the review. So in this age of YouTube punishing you for having an underperforming video, I couldn't really commit to doing a series like that if it was going to start hurting my channel. So I sort of had to, maybe that would be another thing to put on the secondary channel if I ever start one. Like I couldn't do a full review, but I could at least do a summary.
Yeah.
I mean, I partly only did that first video because my friend Sappho, my university drinking buddy, wrote it, and I owed her a favour. Or at least I felt guilty that I couldn't come to her wedding. It will be a while, and if I do bring it back, it's not going to be on the main channel.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I know I made some big promises there, saying I'm going to find some really good self-publishing, and it was, it was partly because I thought it'd be fun, it would make me closer to my audience, and it would help some starting authors.
I definitely would say reserve it for a secondary channel.
Yeah, so maybe that. Like I said, I wanted to make it a big thing on the main channel, but that's one of the things. It ties into the question
Yeah,
we
the
were
way
asked
YouTube
earlier.
is right now, I don't think it's a possibility.
I can't risk damaging the channel by doing it, unfortunately. Sorry.
Hey Dom, it's Matt. So kind of keeping it more serious this time, I first off want to apologize for the last question. It was really just an interesting debate that I wanted to get your take on. I didn't mean to cause an existential crisis there. So something more positive. Oh, you were in that Voice from the Dark thing a while back. You got any fun stories from behind the scenes you can share with that? That'd be really cool. Thanks, man. And again, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to cause total brain meltdown earlier.
I'm sorry.
What's he talking about?
Presumably he put in a question for the last Q&A. I'm really sorry. My memory is like a Greek tragedy. It is awful. My memory...
Yeah, I don't, honestly, I think I only have ever seen that Q&A once, so I really don't remember, and I wasn't a part of it.
Yeah,
So
I think that was the last Q&A was that even before we started working together?
Oh, yeah. It's been a while since your last Q&A.
Yeah, I might rewatch it and find out, because it sounds like he had a really drastic effect on me.
Yeah,
so please don't take it personally that I don't remember. I don't remember anything. my memory is appalling. Like, half of her job is just remind me to breathe. Let's see, behind the scenes for A Voice in the Dark, there's not that many because we couldn't film together. Like, it wasn't. We split into groups of like 6 or 7 people who were in scenes together, and we recorded it over a Discord call. Nash kept getting interrupted by Grady. That was kind of cute. But yeah, so there weren't really that many.
Really funny.
Yeah, there's not many behind the scenes shenanigans because it was all just us recording virtually independently.
Yeah, I can't imagine there would be too many.
Lewis made a slight tactical error in that he ended the first copy on a direct parody of Time Warp, and then didn't try to lease the music until after it had been put out, which you're not allowed to do. So then he had to go to Ilnedge and write a whole new song for the thing.
I do remember this.
Yeah. Linkara is like one of the nicest, kindest people you'll ever meet, ever, if you're ever lucky enough to meet him. He was one of the only Channel Awesome Old Guard that made such an effort to get to know everyone who joined. Because I joined as part of this huge group, there was like 30 of us that came on all at once. He learnt our names and our channels and what we did, so that when he met all of us, he could take an interest. So he was the only one. I mean, some people I just didn't get a chance to talk to. I'm sure they were nice, but the Channel Awesome
He's
itself...
just the one that stuck out.
Yeah, he was the one I just specifically remember. He made everyone feel so welcome because whenever we saw him in person, like first time, he knew me by name, he knew what my channel did, and he was just like pleased to, he seemed genuinely pleased to see everyone. So that's how he approached doing that. So it must have like, it probably cost him financially because he couldn't get all the views himself. Everyone who uploaded it got to split the views between them, but he was just that determined to be to make sure this was the most rewarding experience for everyone involved. So yeah, I think the best behind the scenes things I can say is that it was just a lovely experience working with him and with everyone else. So yeah, there was no complaints really. I think there are outtakes on the CD he sells, so I'll link that in the description if you want to buy that. I bought a copy and then haven't had the nerve to listen to it yet because
it is weird to like hear yourself performing.
It is. If I'm off script, I'm on script, I'm fine. I have to do it all the time. If I'm off script like this, I'm probably never going to watch this because I can't stand the way I talk when I'm off script.
Hey there, Dom. Here's my question. What written work do you think would be the most difficult, if not impossible, to adapt to the medium of film? And let's put some parameters on this. Assume that budget is no object. So an issue of, well, it would be too expensive to realize this, that's not on the table. What works? Take advantage of the literary form in such a way that you think it would be dang near impossible to recapture in a medium like film. Be really curious to see what you say. And as a side question, I don't know how Half-Blood Camp went for Terrence, but if he washed out by any chance, have you considered getting in contact with the folks over at Hexside on the Boiling Isles? They might know how to rein him in. Hope you have a great year.
I think I know where I remember her from. I think she is... I'd have to double check on the YouTube channel that was submitted from. I think that's Council of Geeks.
Yeah, I was like... She looked really familiar, and then the voice was like killing me. I was like, wait a minute, I've definitely watched a video. Because I think didn't she do a video on Sia's movie music? And she also...
Maybe, I think she does a podcast called What the Frell, which is a Farscape retrospective, which is done with another, a person I know, Jessie Gender. She's another...
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, I'm going to be really embarrassed if that's not, so sorry if that's not you.
Well, we'll cut it out.
If we fucked up, if we got it right, then... Well, I mean, I don't hate it, I love to tie everything back to Terry Pratchett, but I think the Discworld books are fundamentally, on some level, not adaptable. I know there have been some. I've not been very satisfied with them. It's sort of just the way it's written, the way that the world works, and the way that he works with feelings as well as locations.
Well, it's a little too scattered, isn't it? Because it's always about an individual story in that universe.
It's a scattered and a bizarre universe. There's a lot of the humour that I just don't think would translate. So yeah, it's why when people say, well, do you ever like to see a Discworld adaptation? I actually say no. I think I would like this to be left alone and remain forever books. There's certain criteria that I think make something very difficult to adapt. And the main one is it set over a very long period of time? Because it's so much harder to do time jumps in TV shows and movies than it is books. Books, you can literally sum it up in a sentence, the year passed. You got to do some sort of transition. You can't just cut from one scene to the other and it's a year later. You have to have some sort of establishing it. So that's one of the main criteria is that like time is a very difficult one to adapt, especially it's also a story that takes place over 10 years of someone's life. That's also really difficult.
Sometimes I've seen it done well. Very rarely. Usually in a contained film.
Yeah, another thing that makes it difficult is if the character is a very internal person. That was a problem with Katniss from The Hunger Games, is that she had so much going on, but the whole point is that she is a mask. Like, people think that she's a very different person than she actually is because she presents such a mask to the world. And when she lets it slip is when she becomes the mockingbird, the Mockingjay.
Yeah.
And that's when people when she gets so passionate, she lets this mask slip, is when you see her become the leader that she always could be, or this inspiration that people want her to be. And it's just so, but the problem is, when you're trying to adapt that, if you want to do a loyal adaptation, you end up with this blank-faced person. When everything was going on, and, I don't blame, I'm just blanking on her name, sorry, the actress, very famous.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, I came completely around on Jennifer Lawrence because the first time when I'd seen the film without reading the book, I thought, this is such a dull performance. And I realized, no, she is just really committed to doing this character, but it's just there's fundamentally something not adaptable to film about that.
There is a way to do it, but I think they stuck. That's one of those instances where I think they stuck a little too close.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of have to make some wiggle room because you're in a completely different media now, and it's more visual, so you're not stuck in their thoughts. I mean, because you can either do that, or you just have to read the book so you know what her thoughts are, or you could do the David Lynch way where everyone just is talking inside their head. That's what he did in Dune, and that was also kind of a mess.
So awkwardly provided.
Yeah, so awkward.
What's another thing I'm trying to think, because there was something else that I felt was like, there's something like, for example, Stephen King's writing style. I was planning to actually do an episode on this, is like, why are Stephen King movies so much less scary than his books? And it's because Stephen King, he's not describing to you something that's scary. He's describing to you the fear that the character is feeling. He makes you relate to this character, and he makes you empathize with them, and he makes you feel their fear. Mm. So what they're scared of almost doesn't matter. They could be scared of the dark, and you can be scared. Filming the dark, not scary. So feeling the fear of the dark is scary. So that's the kind of thing when it's very much an emotion, it's very hard to recreate that in a visual medium because you can't just describe the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of... I can't think of any off the top of my head aside from the Terry Pratchett books that I would say, no, please just leave that alone. But I said those are the general terms. If there's a lot of that in the book, that leads to it being fundamentally poor to adapt.
Yeah. I think everything can have an adaptation. You just have to take better care of certain books.
Yeah.
I think it is possible to do Discworld, but I think you have to be very specific. I think you can't do an entire one and done adaptation. I think there's things that can get expanded upon.
Yeah. They did adapt Weird Sisters into a play. I think that was very good. I think that worked.
That's cool.
Yeah, because the book is parodying a play. So what they did is they worked from the 3-act structure that Macbeth already existed in. Yeah, it's so fun. They had the one I saw had a really fun guy playing Death because he's such a fun character, and he announced the interval and sort of he popped up to say, yes, the refreshments are that way. Those of you who are smoking, carry on. So yeah, that was good. So it's just adapting it into film. I don't know if I've just been burned because I've never been satisfied with the ones that have come before, but I just think there's something about Terry Pratchett books that it's only going to work in a book. There's something about the way the world works that you can't recreate it in CGI, but maybe I'm just being a pretentious bugger there.
A little, but it's fine.
Wow.
It's something that's close to your heart.
You're like rubbing alcohol. You sting me now to save me later.
I'm just saying, because I think our approaches to adaptations are a little bit different. Like I said, I like when there's more liberties taken.
No, I'm coming around to that.
But even with things that I really love, like I don't need a strict adaptation of Dragonflight. I have the book. Like if I want to read the book, I'll read the book.
If the motivations are that they are trying to keep the theme and they have to, there's some things that are hard to adapt. I think the problem is people use that as an excuse to force their vision.
Well, so think of it this way. We were just talking about that weird non-con scene in Game of Thrones. Think about how not having the inner thoughts of Lessa and Fleur when they are forced to pair up, that's a really hard thing to adapt, because how are you going to translate that without it coming off like the guy's a cradle robber?
Might just be better just to change that, yeah. I see what you mean.
I think when especially you have a very thought-heavy, like, which every book should be, if it's a good book, you should really know your characters inside and out. You do lose that a little bit when you make a film, but it can get carried over in different ways.
There are ways.
Yeah,
it's just,
there are
it
ways.
can be difficult, and it's easy to get wrong, and if you get it wrong, it bombs the film.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
David Lynch. Anyway.
Did you ever see Herbert's reaction to that film? He was very kind to it. His fans were a lot harsher. He's like, he tried. He's like, I honestly think it's a hard book to adapt. So the fact that he even tried, you know what? He did say one positive thing about it. He liked the look of the film.
Yeah, it was a visually pleasing film. He did a very good job.
Yeah.
Hey Dominic and Kate, first I wanted to say that you guys both make just like awesome videos and you're some of my favorite channels on YouTube. And then second, I guess my question, Dominic, do you think you've become a more like tolerant person since starting a YouTube channel? And like without being rude, I feel like the person you were in your earlier videos is not somebody I would have wanted to hang out with. But the person you are now, you seem just like a much more like open and kind and caring person. Anyways, thank you. Congrats on 200,000. Bye.
Oh, how dare she notice that?
Oh, she called you out.
Oh, how dare she notice that?
I feel like you could give like a brief rundown because you did already talk about how you
I feel
reformed
like
asshole.
No, I do even look back at the jokes and stuff that I made in, I sort of completed, I wasn't quite as much of an asshole by the time I actually started doing YouTube as I was when I was much younger. But yeah, I've definitely, I hesitate to use the word woke because it's been so stigmatized, but yeah, 100% like doing...
You've grown up, I would say.
Yeah, I've grown up a lot. I have realized just how real some of these issues are.
Well, you came on YouTube during a time where everyone was basically trying to be a part of Channel Awesome or emulate it somehow.
Yes, we're all trying to be Doug Walker in some way or another. So, yeah, the Dune review in particular, I was just screaming a lot, and afterwards I was like, why am I doing that? Am I just trying to copy someone else's style? And so, and there was also like those times when the movie was like good, and I was still trying to look for problems, and so that, from stylistic wise, yeah, you're absolutely right. But yes, no, 100%. I don't know if it's doing the show or just tangent, in parallel to it. Yeah, I'd like to think I've improved as a person a lot. Not saying I'm a great person. I'm just saying I was the starting point was just kind of an asshole.
I gotcha.
So yeah, I regret a lot of jokes. I've taken some jokes down simply because they were sexist, sexual. One thing I said, I didn't mean it to be like this. I just didn't think it through. But I said something like intensely transphobic in one review that's now off YouTube. And it was, like I said, I wasn't trying to be edgy. I wasn't trying to make dumb humor like that. I just simply
misunderstood.
I was an ignorant person who didn't know the terminology you're supposed to use. I didn't know. I didn't necessarily associate this particular thing with that. And yeah, so that one came off. I edited out some jokes. I used language in an earlier one that's, the particular word I used is not as offensive in the UK. I
know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That I don't think that's really a good excuse because my audience was primarily American by that point, and it should have been my responsibility to research which words are worse in America. In that same episode, I also said something else that was deeply ableist, and there was another one where I just made such an unnecessary sexual comment about a very young person. Like she was like 23, playing a teenager.
Oh.
And I said that I was talking about they made her too pretty, and I made a masturbation joke. And I look back at stuff like that, and I just think, yeah, that's disgusting. But the original question is 100%. Yeah, I'm sure you've noticed it too if you've seen the older stuff.
No, I would agree with her. I would be as blunt as her. I definitely would not have been friends with you.
I wouldn't blame you.
But I didn't meet you at that time too, so.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Hello, Dominic, you beautiful content creator. Congratulations on growing your channel and generally being awesome. Speaking of awesome, swords are awesome. Let's gush about blades. Some swords glow, some swords are possessed and talk to their users, and some can even make you the true king over all of England. What is an interesting property that you would love to see explored in more fictional swords? Something offbeat and that makes you think, ooh, that's cool. Personally, I've always been a fan of the chainsword from Warhammer 40k. A chainsaw plus a sword equals a weapon with a very iconic sound and an extremely visceral feel. Stay safe out there.
That's surely just a chainsaw with a different handle. I mean, He's hit on the opposite of what I'm interested in, because I actually find wildly impractical fantasy weapons or science fiction weapons not interesting. One aspect of swords that I see in fiction is the idea that the sword is in some way an entity. It has its own thoughts and personality. It doesn't have to like turn into a person. But I like the idea that the sword either has a will of its own or it has some sort of psychic connection with the person. So they do that a lot more in anime, I think.
Yes.
But there are some Western stories that include it. Let's see, I think Bastion's sword from the book version of Neverending Story was a sword with its own will of its own.
I think so.
Like, as long as he didn't try to draw it himself and use it in anger, it would leap into his hand and do the fighting for him. Like he was virtually just being drawn along by it, and it had its own thoughts and theories on how he should fight. So that's an aspect I like of it. I like a sword that is in some way a personification of something. It has.
Yeah, I always liked the sword. I'm blanking on the character's name because I'm bad with character names. But the sword from Wizard's First Rule. Well, it's in all of the Sword of Truth series. But his sword was basically the most powerful weapon on Earth. It could cut through anything. But the caveat was it would bring onto you like basically the most searing, awful pain ever. So it was a lot to experience. As the sword wielder.
So you like swords that come with a price?
Yes. I'm all about consequences. I find that very riveting. The reason why I really loved that book series, at least the first few books, is much like Earthsea, I love magic that has a consequence. Like why one of my favorite movies and books is Practical Magic 2, where it's like everything has a consequence. You can't just have all the magic in the world. It's something is going to come back at you.
Gotcha.
And to have the most powerful sword ever, it's gonna hurt like hell to use.
I like that.
Yeah.
An interesting thing, because one of the examples he gave was Excalibur, which technically wasn't the sword. I think he was talking about Excalibur, which technically wasn't the sword and the stone. There was two separate swords.
Yeah, the Excalibur is the one that Lady Blake.
Yeah.
I know my things.
And yeah. I'm glad you stopped me before he mansplained. The other one, Andwell from Lord of the Rings. They're the two swords that are very similar because they both. But what's interesting is that neither are canonically magical, as far as I'm aware. They're both just good swords. It's what they represent.
Yeah,
that's important.
It's more. It's kind of like. In the MCU, Thor's hammer, where he was constantly relying on it, and I really love that scene in Thor Ragnarok. He's like, "But I'm nothing without the hammer," and he says, "I gave you the hammer because it was a way to channel your power." You are the power. Like it wasn't the hammer. It isn't the weapon that you wield. But the hammer did work. I'm not even going to bother to say its actual name because
Mjolnir? Or Meow Meow's Cat
Meow
Dennings,
Meow.
Say it,
Yeah, that's how
she was written really poorly. Sorry, she got a redemption in WandaVision.
I love Kat Dennings.
Loved that character there. Didn't like it in Thor. Loved her in that. So clearly it was the writing, not Kat Dennings. So I tangent back to the swords.
I was like, never would be Kat Dennings. I adore her. But if I had to pick a weapon with a consequence, or it isn't the weapon, it's you who wields it, and like so I think,
channel for your power.
Yeah, a channel for your power, or also like it does in a way choose you, that only someone, not with a pure heart, but someone who has that heroic, capabilities. Now, not that I think this anime is amazing, but there were always things I liked about it, and the one aspect I loved the most about, I'm going to say Inuyasha, was the sword and more of the themes that went along with it. It wasn't that I liked his sword, because it was basically just overpowered, it does magical girl moves, like you shout out a thing and it does a thing. I liked that he was so overpowered with his sword, he was just doing all these things, and then it broke, and he had to make a new one with his fang. And then he spends an entire season unable to lift it. And someone's like, well, the original sword was made from your father's fang. So in a way, he was helping you through your journey. And now you have to rely on your own strength.
Damn.
And basically relearn like how strong he can be. I was like, oh, I like that. That's cool. Because he doesn't have a close relationship with his father. His father died when he was young, so he kind of never had a relationship with him. So having that sword was probably the closest he had ever been to his father. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And so like, I like those kind of aspects too, where there's themes brought into it, where it's more like it's a symbolism for something.
Okay, I like that. Shit, I was going to mention something then. It was oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
You mentioned the father-son thing. Yeah. There was a thing I found watching someone's YouTube video about the behind-the-scenes for Star Wars. The primary reason that Luke's lightsaber was green in the third one was because they had a practical issue of the sky. And you can't really see the blue lightsaber when he was doing the fighting in Tatooine because it's very blue sky, so they made it green. But they actually said, like, there's a script, well, it's a minute taking from one of the production meetings where George Lucas and a few people were spitballing it. And they said, actually, you know what actually works better? Until now, he's been fighting for his father because he had this memory of Anakin that wasn't turned out to not be true, and he'd been wielding his father's sword in his father's name. And the reason he changed blade is because he's not, the green blade represents he's not fighting for Vader anymore, he's fighting for himself.
No,
and I was like, I really wish they'd made that more clear in the film. I mean, you don't have to jam.
It doesn't translate very well.
Yeah, you don't have to jam that point in, but I thought that's really interesting. The other reason I always get a bit, one of my nerd things that I occasionally rant about is, for some reason, I always find in Star Wars and the Star Wars Extended Universe, canons and legends, is that there seems to be an emphasis on blue lightsabers. They just seem to prefer them. Like, if there's an adaptation, they'll change a green lightsaber to blue. They insisted on having Anakin's lightsaber black. Rey didn't get her own color. Leia's lightsaber was blue. Luke, when he was being a Force ghost, his lightsaber was blue. So it's like, I wonder why people just like blue lightsabers more, which may just be me being a selfish nerd because I love green lightsabers. Thanks for letting me ramble about Star Wars, though.
No, you're fine. I know everyone, like, assumes I hate Star Wars because of The Last Jedi. I've seen all the movies. Like, I don't have an attachment the way that other people do.
So, I mean, just because you had problems with Star Wars fans attacking
Oh,
in the
yeah.
past,
Oh,
that's why.
God, because I got one planet's name wrong. So apparently I don't understand the fundamentals of Star Wars because I don't know a planet's name. Believe me, I don't know half the, like, names in Star Trek, and I love Star Trek. Like, I get names of...
The names are dumb. Alderaan, Onderon, Tatooine, Dantooine. You just change the first letter and called it a day, George.
Hi, Dominic Noble. I'm Summery, and I would like to ask if there are any fairy tale retellings you either enjoy or despise. This can include Cinderella ones that may or may not go beyond marrying the handsome prince, or Beauty and the Beast ones that can range from an interesting take on the concept to something comparable to the garbage you had to go through. Take care, Dom.
Yeah, Beastly's pretty bad.
This is one of those ones where I just don't have enough experience in it to definitively say. I mean, we could talk about 365 Days because that is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast that sucks ass. But
as far as I'm a sucker for that. I think I actually talked this about on the podcast that I was on, Musicals with Cheese, because we were talking about how I had seen pretty much all the adaptations of Jane Austen works, and I do the same thing with Cinderella, with Red Riding Hood. I love watching interpretations. One of my favorite, most unique interpretations was a reimagining of Alice in Wonderland called Malice in Wonderland. With it's set in present London, and it's the coolest independent film I've ever seen. It's very dreamlike still, like, and it feels like such a cool interpretation of it. I love things like that. If you can take something really creative with an old hat story, I love that. I eat that up. As far as like things, I don't want it to be too close to the original. Like, especially an older fairy tale. A lot of those are dated and aged.
This is why we end up coming up with different opinions on adaptations so much. Like, yeah, he changes. I'm like, ugh, changes.
Well, no. So, like, with fairy tales, because they're already so vague, there isn't, true. Like, a thick book.
Fairy tales are usually also really fucked up.
Yeah, so...
I didn't actually see it, so I'm probably just being a typical guy about this. What was that? There were two movies that were just YA reimaginings of fairy tales. One was, like, Hood or something, or... There was Snow White and the Woodsman, which was just Chris Hemsworth being a sword fighter.
Oh, yeah. Snow White and the Huntsman was... It wasn't even that. Snow White and the Huntsman was basically Game of Thrones light.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was one that
Mirror
was...
Mirror.
Is it Mirror Mirror?
Yeah, Mirror
Little
Mirror.
Red Riding Hood, where it's basically Twilight, but...
The one you're thinking of is the Catherine Hard Red Riding Hood with Amanda Seyfried.
Yes.
That one... Okay, I actually enjoy that movie, but in that it's such trash. It's a gorgeous looking film, but also very clearly on a stage. Also, Gary Oldman... a zero fucks performance, which is just great, because when he's just allowed to do whatever he wants, it's really fun. Amanda Seyfried's terrible in it, in that you could tell she was uncomfortable. She just looked lost and was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Also,
it's gotta be a directing problem then, hasn't it?
well, like, Catherine Hardwicke usually is a strong director, but I think she was a little in over her head. I don't know, something was lost in translation with how she was trying to make this film. Also, unless you pull it off like A Knight's Tale, please don't randomly put in pop songs for like it doesn't work. I don't care if it's from Fever Ray. It just doesn't work.
It's very hard to make that work.
Yeah.
It was so jarring when I think it was Aragon ended on that pop song, because at least it had a reasonably logical soundtrack until that point.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, as far as, so my answer to that is I love reinterpretations of fairy tales, especially because there's so much room to add and change things.
Yeah.
So when Disney started doing just their empty-headed live-action reboots of their classics, when they did Cinderella, I was so pissed. I was like, this is just a more boring version of the 50s version. I was like, at least the 50s version had beautiful, colors to it, and I really like the art in it. I mean, just that shot alone of her wicked stepmother and like the shadowing and how her eyes like shone through. I was like, ooh, that's so creepy. But like,
I never watched the reboots.
Cinderella was just a waste of talent. That like Kate Blanchett was in it. The not Kit Harington, the guy who dies in Red Wedding, the really really hot. What the hell is his name?
Who played Rob Stark?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a Scottish bloke, isn't he? I forget his name as well.
I don't know. I've only seen him in Game of Thrones, the Cinderella, and that one show where he's the bodyguard. Oh my god, that's creepy.
The Daisy Whisper. He was in Rocket Man, which was the...
yeah. That's right. Wow, how did I forget that?
He was good in it, and he was gorgeous in it, but he played the abusive boyfriend of...
but no, he's very, very good looking. He was a waste in that movie, and also, I don't like Lily James. Sorry to say, she's very cute, but I feel like she's not... I feel like maybe I'm just not seeing the right films.
Ignore him.
She was so underutilized because she's usually just picked in films to be the pretty one.
Right.
And her, you know what also didn't work is because I had already grown up with Ever After, which is the better reboot of Cinderella. So their version was just boring. Also, for as, I don't know what you want to say, neutered as it was, they for some reason kept in from the original fairy tale that the stepsisters chop off pieces of their foot to fit their feet in the shoe. And I remember watching them like, they put this in a kid's film? Why did this get through? I was like, Jesus. I mean, they don't show you, they just talk about it, and then it's like an off-screen thing, and I'm like, I know that's from the original fairy tale, Kenneth Branagh, but how did you get that through Disney?
Nothing fucks me up than a whimsical morbidness.
Yeah.
Roald Dahl
It comes out of nowhere, because nothing else in the movie is like that. It just happens.
Okay, well,
like,
good to know.
Hello, Dominic. To start off with, in case you remember who I am, I would first like to apologise for my cringy, attention-seeking attitude in my last question. I really didn't have to do any of that stuff at all in that question, and it just makes me cringe every single time I see it, so just wanted to say I'm sorry about that. But on to my actual question. You've said before that you really like Douglas Adams' The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, as well as most of the adaptations. But what is your opinion on Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, assuming you've read it? Which do you like better, Hitchhiker's Guide or Dirk Gently, or do you like them both for slightly different reasons? And on top of that, what are your feelings surrounding all the other Dirk Gently inspired media, assuming you've seen or read any of those as well? There aren't really any adaptations yet, except for the audio drama, which I really like.
Second person who apologised. That's so weird. Oh, I'm sure it wasn't as bad as you're remembering, dude.
I wish they'd give us a flashback so I could...
Well, we could do that. It's on my what to watch list. My dad, who suggests to me all the books that I end up loving the most, because we have very similar taste in book. He pitched it to me.
Dirk Gently or
Dirk Gently. I've seen all of the Hitchhiker's things.
Yeah, I figured
sometimes unwillingly. But
oh yeah, that's right, because you did do a Lost adaptation on that. I do not like that movie. I love Sam Rockwell, but not that much.
My funny story, I was wearing my Hitchhiker's Guide t-shirt when I was talking to my voice therapist the other day, and she was trying to think of a subject, because she had a theory that a lot of my pain is psychosomatic, so she wanted me to think of something that would distract me so much I would just start talking about it. So she said, oh, what did you think of that film? And I was like, I got opinions. And she was right. She proved to me that if I could just talk the correct way, that my throat stops tensing up. So she's an absolute genius at her job. But yeah, so for the sheer power of my disappointment in that film, she helped cure my voice problems.
He's not as versed in Dirk Gently.
Sorry, again, on my to-do list.
I did it in reverse. I saw the TV show first. Didn't even know it was a book series. Like, I know who Douglas Adams is, and I grew up with Hitchhiker's Guide. Like I said, Dad way into British comedy, and especially if it's sci-fi related. He's way into it. In space, he's good to go. I think I prefer the TV show to the book series. The book series is fine. There is a lot of differences, though. I wouldn't call it exactly the same without getting too much into it. I also understand why the TV show got canceled. I mean, when you have as problematic and an asshole of a showrunner. But I really love the TV show, and I was really sad when it did get canceled. I kind of wish they kept going on and just pushed out the showrunner and got a new one. I mean, TV shows do that all the time where they get a new showrunner. I don't know why they couldn't with this one. But I mean, Elijah Wood is amazing in it. Oh. And the guy who played Dirk Gently was really, really good in it. Oh my God, he was really, really good. I loved him. I like weird stuff, though, like, because it's weird. It's a really fucking weird show. Also, Brad Dourif's daughter's in it, too, and she's also really good in it. Oh. Brad Dourif is Chucky.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And also in other things. But
if I ever seem knowledgeable in an episode, it's because of it.
But yeah, no. I really, really loved the TV show. Adored it. Was really sad that it wasn't there. I enjoyed the book series. I didn't read all of the books. I read, I think, the first two. It's definitely enjoyable. It's different. They obviously took it in a slightly different direction.
Okay.
So
I don't know if I made everyone feel really bad about their performances.
I was gonna say, what did you do in this last Q&A?
Clearly, I made everyone feel really guilty if they put any work into these questions and tried to have theatrics and stuff. So, like, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to. I enjoy it when you guys... Like the guy with the swords earlier.
Yeah.
Loved that. That was really funny.
Greetings, dear Dominic, from a cold and rather snowy Blighty. I have 2 questions for you, if I may. 1, what was your gateway into the world of science fiction and fantasy? For me, it was both the book and the BBC adaptation of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. 2nd question. Now more than ever, we could all do with an escape from reality. If it were possible to leave this reality and visit your favourite fictional one, which one would you choose? Oh, and you're not allowed to choose anything by Sir Terry Pratchett. That would be way too easy. For me, if I couldn't join the Ankh-Morpork City Watch, I would be tempted to join Gail Carriage's finishing school, or failing that, maybe visit Peter Jackson's version of Middle-earth, especially Hobbiton. I think I'd fit in rather well. I mean, I love my friends and food and cake and waistcoats and cake and tea. Needs more gin. Toodles.
Oh my gosh, she was so great.
That's my favourite question ever.
That was so cute.
I love that. That's... Wow, we need to find out if she has like a YouTube channel or something. Because that was a performance. That was really good.
Do you see her corset?
No, that outfit is incredible.
Do you see how it's all bookbinding?
It's all books corset.
That's so
that
cool.
Outfit's the coolest outfit I've ever seen in my life.
Damn.
Yes, Whisper's impressed too. Yeah, the first trilogy of books that I read that resonated with me for some reason. I was like 7, 8, so it wasn't like... It was a series of Star Trek novelization. No, not novelizations of episodes. It was actually, there was the first pilot, well, technically the second pilot. The first one that actually had William Shatner in, where they go to
I know what you're talking about.
They go to the edge of the galaxy and his best friend Mitchell dies. Or gets infected with the god powers.
Doesn't he come back or something like that?
I don't think so.
No, I mean the actor.
Oh, the actor might have.
Yeah, I think he came back for an episode or something like that. I don't remember.
But yeah, the episode was a bit weird because they played up that Mitchell was like Kirk's best friend since high school, basically, or since the academy. But he spent more time mourning for the woman of the week, his one love interest of the day.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt they did miss some opportunities to play out the fact that this was his best friend who died. And I forget the name of the author, but he turned that into a trilogy of books, which is The Young Days. But I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. I think he was Mitchell. Between Kirk and Mitchell in the academy days and their first mission together and all these things.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then it fleshed out, it added a lot more weight to his death because it's the framing device is Kirk trying to prepare for his funeral and giving the eulogy, and it keeps flashing back to them having these adventures together. So what was like just a villain death in the episode was fleshed out into an actual tragic story of a man losing his best friend. So that was my first science fiction series that I read independently of having like books read to me by like my dad.
Yeah.
The other gateway into science fiction was the Mars Vorkosigan series, which is it's a story. It's not like hard science fiction. It's more soft. But it's a story of a. He's kind of a Tyrion Lannister kind of character. He's a person. Okay. He's born on a planet that is very prejudiced against people with birth deformities, and he was born as a little person. And he is the son and the grandson of two world-famous war heroes. It's like if your dad was Winston Churchill or George Washington, saviors of the planet. And he has this reputation to live up to, and he just can't because there's no wars. He can't get into the army because he's... and he has like this manic hyperactivity. He calls it form momentum, where his personality is constantly striving him to do more and more things. So a lot of the shenanigans he gets into are of his own creation. His name's Miles. The Miles McCushkin series is he ends up being like a space mercenary who's secretly working for his planet. So he is actually outdoing his father and grandfather in feats, but no one ever knows because he has to have plausible deniability.
Okay.
So it's a story very much about someone finding their own identity, but he's just a fun character because I love flawed characters, and Miles is his own worst enemy. And then after that, I got into the Honor Harrington series, which is kind of a science fiction retelling of the Hornblower series with a female lead, and she's good. Later novels get a bit less fun because she becomes a bit too perfect. Like she had more flaws to start with, and then she works through them. There's nothing left. She's just this perfect character.
Gotcha.
So yeah, those are the main three I'd say, like the Star Trek spin-off series, the Paul Costigan novels, and David Weber's Honor Harrington series. And then later, I got really into the Polity novels by Neil Asher, who saw my episode about it and got in contact. And that was really sent me a signed copy of his book and everything.
Oh,
yeah,
that's so cool.
I was like, holy shit.
I mean, mine was also, like, I would say my top three. I wouldn't say they're to that caliber. Mine was My Teacher's an Alien, the Roswell High, and Animorphs. Animorphs was really big.
They're sort of more urban science fiction sort of things. They're very set. Yeah.
They were, because honestly, when it comes to science fiction, I like it a little more urban. I'm not really into people, I mean, I like Star Trek and everything, but I more attach myself to something that I found more relatable as a kid. And also, I more so, especially right around the time that I started getting into Xena, I kind of just transferred over to more fantasy. And then, then I started reading, like, the Sword of Truth series, Dragon Riders of Pern. There was one that I read as a kid. It was about a girl who wakes up in our world and she has amnesia and this horse with a scar, and she finds out she's a princess of a destroyed kingdom and the horse is a unicorn. I was also way into horses. I was horse girl energy as a child. So
more power to you. I was sword douche, bro. I studied the blade, and don't get me wrong, got me hella laid. All the women, they love the guys who study the blade, but you know that's not true. What was the second question? What universe would you want to live in?
I don't know if I want to live in any of my universes.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because some of the universes are so perilous. That's exactly what I mean. It's like I wouldn't want to be in the Star Wars universe because you get killed a lot. Especially if you're a Jedi. Being a Jedi must suck. Because the entire basis of this universe is a constant struggle between the dark and the light. And so if you're and like everyone's actions are being leading towards this balance. If the good guys are winning, the bad guys have to win. If the bad guys are winning, the good guys have to win. And if you are attuned to the Force, if you're a Jedi, you are basically the most slaved to this predestination of anyone. And the call of the dark side is like you are constantly a recovering drug addict who's being yearned towards this thing. So yeah, doing Force jumps and swinging your lightsaber around sounds fun, but being a Jedi sounds like it would suck. Lord of the Rings would also, she specified Hobbiton in the Shire because that's like, with the one exception of the Scouring it's the only place that's not constantly racked by orcs and warfare. And yeah, you could have a good time with the hobbits, but if you're going to hang out in like Gondor, you have to occasionally worry about giant boulders being hurled in by trebuchet. I
would say the closest for me would be probably practical magic, only because it's our world, but like if I also got to be a witch.
Nice.
So that seems like fun, and I don't have to fuck up like the characters do to make my story interesting. I could, not try to resurrect someone and then they become like a enraged ghost serial killer.
As you do.
Probably would help, benefit me if I don't do that. So I think I'd be fairly safe.
I'd probably go with Neil Asher's story because even though there are problems, I love the polity. I mean, the polity is problematic because it is a dictatorship. It is solely run by an all-powerful AI.
Gotcha.
The general idea is the AI is very good at running humanity. He's fairly compassionate, or some of them are. The AI, they're kind of grounded, and they do want what's best for people and themselves, and they're willing to sacrifice themselves, but still a dictatorship. And he does explore in these books. This wasn't by accident. He does explore in the books how, at the end of the day, no matter how committed to the greater good these things are, that's going to have problems. but the world is so fun. I love these sassy, quirky AI people. I love the things like I would willingly infect myself with the Spatterjay virus, which will make sense to fans of the book. It turns you into, it's a long story, or I would willingly become a golem, like the robot people, because I love what they do that with the augmentations, the way you can jack yourself into the internet in your mind, get grid linked, stuff like that. So there's so many fun things in that I would just desperately love to experience, just because it's another way of existing. Maybe I should just try drugs, I guess. But so yeah, I think even though that is also quite a perilous world, I would be willing to put up with the dangers of that to experience what it'd be like living in this world where technology has moved on to the point where it is virtually magical.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I could see that.
And there are safe places you can be in the polity. You don't have to go to Spatterjay, and you don't have to go to the Predor neutral zone. You can just hang out on Earth and be cool and relaxed and calm and groovy and try out all the cool technology stuff. So that's probably the world I'd probably pick.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Star Trek's another one that you think is good in principle, then you look at the casualty score in
Oh my god,
Starfleet.
yeah, no.
So many people dead.
Yeah.
And in the original series, it's amazing how little they make a big deal out of it. I've seen, they will watch people murder crew members and then still make nice of them at the end. What's a little death of a crew? What's a little murder of one of my crew between friends? Well, you've learned.
Just a misunderstanding.
You've learned that's not okay. You know, you've worked through it.
Hi, it's me, Kevy. I'm a transgender woman and drag queen. Part of why I love your channel so much is because you are such a hardcore supporter of the queer community. You cover queer romance novels, cross-dress without shame, and you even removed a video because you accidentally used the wrong pronoun. So my question for you is, how did you become such a great ally to our community, and what made you decide to be so vocal about it on your channel? Much love from your trans beautiful watchers.
That sort of ties into the things we were discussing earlier with feeling like I'm better, someone I became during this thing. I don't know, it was never really, I never had a moment where I was just like, I'm going to champion this issue. It was just more, I'm cursed with a horrific amount of empathy. So while I'm not a part of these communities and I don't always understand what it's like to be a part of them, I understand when people are in pain and, facing the kind of transphobia that started running rampant and, homophobia, sexism, everything. I see the pain it causes and I feel it and it hurts, and it does make me want to try to do whatever stupid little thing I can to help with it, even if it's just, hey, there's one middle-class white cis male who's willing to acknowledge that the world is not okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not the only one, obviously, it's the height of arrogance to say that. So yeah, it's more, once I completed my hopeful recovery from being a massive asshole, it seems bizarre to me to not want to be an ally.
I think you experienced a lot of growth. I think also the way you engage with your fan base and with the friends that you have now, I think you've allowed yourself to, you educate yourself. You're always learning and you want to, and like you said, you empathize with, the goodness in humanity. And so you see when someone's getting hurt or disparaged or being put down upon. So, and you want to use your platform for good at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think it should be considered an amazing thing. I think this just should be the standard MO.
No.
So
yeah, I think then for you it doesn't feel like a big grand statement. It feels like a given that everyone should be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to try my best.
Yeah, that's fair.
Say hello to Dominic.
Oh.
All right, that was Garrus, named after
Garrus.
the Knight of the Round Table, Sir Garrus.
Oh,
Now that I
nice.
have your attention, hello, Dominic.
Terry over here right now.
Would you consider doing a Lost in Adaptation stream, like you streaming a game based on a book? Because there are a lot of them out there. The first that comes to my mind is the point-and-click adventure game based on I Have No Math and I Must Scream. You read the material for doing the stream, and then as you play the game, you sort of point out inaccuracies or things they change. Basically a live episode of Lost in Adaptation.
That's actually a really
It's a good
cool
idea.
suggestion. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you should do the. I have enough
yeah,
on
no,
the screen. I feel like that would just be you freaking out the entire time.
I've not played it or read it. My understanding of the game, for just to cover that particular example, is that it's sort of like it's in this weird universe where it's very accurate, but it's also not really about the book. It seems to take place because everyone dies at the end of the book except for the one person.
Mm-hmm.
But in the game, everyone's alive, but they also reference the events of the book, so it's clearly some sort of alternate universe, different chronology. But apart from that, I think they also don't. They sort of, So I think Pushing Up Roses did a really good review. A few other people I'll link to people who did actually like that sort of genre and do a much better job than me. Have already talked about this and how it ties in, so I'll link to that. I'm making an effort to be better at live stuff because I feel it is a weakness of mine that I'm not good off script. So that might be a good idea. I do Metro 2031 or 2031. That's been on the to-do list for so long. I asked the guy I got the guy who requested it. I said, look, do you mind if I put this on the back burner? Because I'm not really sure how to do this.
I think you should do it like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. That was like 3 years ago. That guy's been really patient. I think I let him pick a different choice as a hold-in.
But I think that is a good, especially if there is something like that, I think that'll also bring in some different content. You can also put that on a secondary channel if you're afraid it's not going to perform well. But I think that's a really interesting...
It's an interesting idea. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'd be good at it. I'm trying to, through exposure therapy, get better and less terrified of doing live, unscripted stuff.
Gotcha.
Because it is something I would like to do more. But right now I do feel I'm rambly and hard to understand when I'm not hyper-thinking about it and think about enunciating it. Before the world ended, I was actually thinking of taking improv classes to help with me thinking on the spot and having a performance thing. So I've just been making do with just trying to throw myself into going on Luke's live streams and other people's stuff like that. But yeah, that's not a bad suggestion. I might, because I think Metro 2031 is more sort of a world, and the character is called Anton, which is the main character, but I don't think it's following the lines of the book. Because I already know from seeing people's Let's Plays, because they're firing guns left and right and centre, he fires his gun once in the entire book. He keeps being given these amazing custom guns, and he never uses them.
Gotcha.
So it's a shooter game, so obviously that more emphasis on shooting people.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm sure there is a list of interesting games to do in the far future. I only know of the ones that are not movie tie-ins games necessarily, but The Witcher is basically a sequel to the books, a non-canon sequel.
Yeah.
So that one would be kind of useless to do because it's well, of course it's different. It has nothing, you know what I mean? It's just a sequel, loose adaptation sequel of the books.
Okay.
Because it's supposed to what is her name? It's what's her name? Syria, the blonde girl in The Witcher.
Now I'm blanking. I want to say the girl,
yeah,
the child. Yeah,
Ciri?
that's Ciri.
It's
Ciri?
Ciri?
Short
Okay.
for something.
Yeah.
She was a good actress.
She's an adult in the game. She's already been trained and had already lived with Geralt, and she's on her own thing.
The Witches are sort of sequels, aren't they?
Yeah.
As opposed to but they also they mess
But they
with
take
the
a lot of
lore
liberties.
little bit. Yeah, because
yes,
I haven't got around to reading all of them yet. I'm still working my way through Blood of Elves, but I know that things get fucking weird in the later books. I think Camelot's involved.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the games could exist in the exact continuity, but it's sort of like a pseudo-sequel. But that is interesting. I have tried playing The Witcher.
That will take you forever, though. I don't think you could ever do a full playthrough of it because it's an expansive open world.
I think there's enough Let's Players out there. I might play it on a stream and then come back and do an episode.
I think it's an occasional, a charity stream or a anniversary stream or things like that. I think that would be a cool thing, but as a regular thing,
Yeah.
It's definitely a thing to mull over.
One of the things I think we've realised in this Q&A is, we need to start a second channel.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hi, Dom. First things first, obligatory cat cameo. So last year you held an amazing fundraiser for Black Lives Matter in which for every $200 that was raised, you said you would have one chapter of E.L. James's The Mister read to you on live stream. And you blew past that amount. You did hold 2 live streams in which you got through roughly, I think it was 5 chapters. and you said you would have another live stream, and then nothing, not even a whisper about anything. So out of a sense of respect for you and accountability, I'd like to ask when the next one would be. I know it's difficult with technical issues, scheduling, and the material is, well, it's E.L. James. So maybe one chapter chunks, but is there any updates on that? Thanks.
No, glad she asked. Yeah, no, I owe everyone the rest of the book. I am definitely going to do it. I meant to last month, possibly TMI, but I went through some very depressed episodes for a few months, and I just wasn't in a mental space.
It makes sense. It's a really bad book.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just that. It was just I was going, like, depression for me translates into fatigue. I'm not trying to make the question asker feel bad about asking.
Oh, no.
So I was just, like, to the point where I was too physically tired I was barely able to work on the projects we were working on, and so the idea of getting a live stream sorted again, because I can't remember how live stream works, and the first time was so catastrophically bad, because I got it wrong. It's in the works. I have the two next, I am going to bring it back, and I'm going to try and bring it back in a more regular scheduled, like once a month. I'm not going to do like marathons like I did before, like 2 4-hour sessions. I'm going to do 1 2-hour session a month and try and cycle through some interesting readers. And I got my sister to record a promo. I needed an English woman to do this voice acting, and I suddenly realized I don't know any British people anymore. I've been in America too long, so I was like, well, my sister's been demanding some sort of cameo or something just for funsies. So I said, look, try and channel Cate Blanchett's Galadriel just before she turns really scary and do this voice. So I'm putting everything together. I've got the readers sorted out. I'm just trying to relearn the technical aspects of the live stream. I'm trying to mentally prepare myself, and I'm recording a announcement video for it coming back. So yes, I'm on the edge of bringing that back. I promise. It
has not been forgotten.
It has not been forgotten. I know I have been shirking my agreement there, because I did. We earned like $39,000. So the least I can do is finish the book from something. When you guys did something as amazing as that.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, it has just been a case of I did want to get back to it, just things got in the way. The pandemic I hit a wall with it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, a lot happened last year.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just, but no, it is on the cusp of coming back, and I promise you we will finish that book. You guys paid for all of it, and you're going to get all of it, I promise. So yeah, that's the short answer there. No, and yeah, I'm glad they're calling me out on it.
Hey Dom, big fan by the way, but my question for you is, what is it like to have like a majority, like a good chunk of your life being on the internet like that? Like being on YouTube for like 5+ years is like, I think, a good chunk of time. So like, do you ever look at your past videos or like see your past self and get like cringy that it's all out there for like public knowledge? Or do you like have some type of like nostalgia for your past self? Like, or maybe is it a mix of both? And if you want to elaborate more on that, go for it. But thank you.
Thank you.
You did cover this already when that one girl called you out. But do you feel a nostalgia for anything?
I do in principle. I do not wish to rewatch my old stuff. Okay. Because I will hate it. I will hate how
I
better it
can't
could be.
rewatch my first few videos. Yeah. Oh God, I'll probably die of cringe.
But so I have nostalgia in principle of the the fun times and some of the fun things and the reaction to people. It's interesting. I don't think that I do have so much of my life on the internet, because I'm not a vlogger. I'm not someone who makes it like. Most people have never seen my home because it's all green screen. I feel like I have more privacy, and I don't feel like a lot of me goes. I put myself into every video. Like nothing I've ever done has ever been disingenuine. But the me that you see in videos is what is the version of me who's had like a week to think about what he wants to say. To think about what would be a dumb thing to say, what would be a smart thing to say, what's relevant, what was possibly a knee-jerk reaction. So it's by far the most polished version of me anyone will ever see. So it's not, it's not a performance. It's not me ever making up opinions, but it's not. It's not the me. Yeah, it's me when I've had a lot of time to think about it. So it's not exactly who I am in person, because I have when I'm thinking, I'm combating my ADHD. When I'm off the cuff, initial reactions to it, sometimes it can be different. So I don't feel too exposed. You know, I don't feel like too much of
I
my...
would say even on Twitter, you really don't give that much away.
Yeah, I talk about my cats a lot. So I make occasional quips and stuff. But yeah, I don't like super overshare. So yeah, I mean, tying back into the original thing, yes, there's certainly been my evolution as a person has it turned up on there because I've become a lot more aware of issues and a lot more sensitive towards them, and I hope an improved person. But yeah, I've never felt like I didn't have privacy or that I was commercializing my life or monetizing my everything the way other YouTubers have had to, because they have a lot more less polished vlog style content.
Yeah.
So yeah, what about you?
I don't think I mean, I've definitely privated certain videos where I'm like, it doesn't really reflect what I want my channel to be anymore. As far as nostalgic for when I see some of my videos, I'm reminded of the effort that I put into it, or oh yeah, I remember that time in my life. I have not rewatched my really old videos at all. I don't go that far back. I don't think I could, because I remember being very uncomfortable in front of the camera and being very nervous. So, and also I was editing with a webcam. I had a webcam that I used.
Your sound quality was a bit every YouTuber goes for a bad sound quality phase.
I mean, I feel like I've only recently fixed my sound quality, because I've always struggled with it. I have bad luck with audio. Something always happens with my audio where I think I've fixed it and then something else goes wrong. So that's just more of a thing.
But do you feel like you've had a lot of do you feel like a lot of your evolution as a person in your life has been captured in YouTube? Or do you feel same as me?
I would feel I'm even more of a closed book online than you.
You only tweet once a month.
Yeah, I mean, I think that comes from my own insecurities and anxiety, where you're talking about how I agree with you, how my videos are, I've had a long time to think about it. I've cultivated my script to be exactly what I want to say and exactly what I think about, and my performance is multiple takes to get a line right. On Twitter, that's such a more free form of thought. And also you can get more easily misconstrued and misunderstood, because it's like texting someone basically when you're tweeting.
Yeah.
And I also don't think I don't feel as clever as my videos, because I have more time to think about what I'm writing.
Interesting.
So I don't really have a lot. I also haven't been on as a YouTuber as long as you. I've only been on here for a little over 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. It feels like longer. You've come a long way in a short time then.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, Dom. I'm Steampunk Unicorn, and I have 2 questions for you today. My first being, given your love of sci-fi and fantasy, have you ever read anything by Edgarise Burroughs, like his Tarzan series or his John Carter series? And my second question is, given all the books that you've covered on Lost in Adaptation, is there anything that you would never do for the show? Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
Okay.
Okay, at least we can answer the second question.
Yeah, we can answer the second question.
I mean, I famously had a very staunch never-list where I said I would never do 50 Shades, Twilight, Harry Potter, or Lord of the Rings.
You never said you would do Harry Potter?
I said I would never do Harry Potter. I said, there's no point.
Funny.
Everyone's already read these books. I have nothing to bring to the table.
I've never read the books.
Okay, well, I mean, I was obviously wrong, and obviously I did it.
That's so funny.
Lord of the Rings, I didn't say I'd never do Lord of the Rings, but that's when I said that would be the last one I ever do.
I was going to say, yeah, you never said never did that one. That was just more, it's just a lot to cover.
Yeah.
So you weren't trying to attack it.
Gotcha. So I think that was the main ones. So yeah, so I basically...
You've kind of come around on your nevers.
Basically, yeah, every single one, someone I have reneged on doing. So I try not to actually make statements like that anymore. The only time I can do it is if there's a very practical reason for it, like when I say I can't do anime or Japanese things, or things that will get me in trouble.
I was going to say, way earlier on, with one of the prior questions, the only things you never want to do are the ones that are too upsetting for you.
Yeah,
I know that you pretty much...
Yeah.
You know.
I also don't. I'm not necessarily saying never for them. What I'm saying is I don't want to, and you probably can't make me. So it may never happen simply because I put it off until my career ends. That's the most likely outcome here. But I don't think I have anything that I will say I will not do that. I mean, there's not for books or films. I've said things like I will not do this reversed adaptation thing. So there's variations of the show that I said I won't do. But I don't want to make any more big grand statements about not doing something and then looking like an idiot later, because I do them all.
Yeah, I don't think I even have a never list. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Hey Dom, I was just wondering if you would ever, if you're ever gonna review the 2003 adaptation of the novel Holes. I'd like to see a Lost in adaptation of that. Also, maybe cut down on the swearing a little. It just seems a little unnecessary sometimes, but, whatever.
Oh, the Shia LaBeouf movie.
Yeah.
I think that's on the list.
I have that book.
Did you just call me out on swearing? Whenever I get, young people submitting things for Q&As, I think, God, when I was his age, I never would have had the confidence to do that, so I'm always...
He was very cute.
Yeah.
I love Holes. Holes is a good book, and I really like that movie, too.
Yeah, I haven't seen or read either, but I think it is actually
I'd be down for it.
I think it's on the list.
Is it?
I think it's on the Patreon list.
I love both. Yeah, they're both really, really good.
I know there's some interesting behind the scenes stuff regarding that, so yeah, I'm not opposed to doing that.
I really, really like that. As far as cursing...
I'm trying.
You know what? I'm from New Jersey. That's just fancy words you add into a sentence to us.
Yeah, no,
I think people get a little uptight with cursing. I think if you over embellish with them and it becomes like every other word, I think that's a little try hard for some people. But
just because YouTube's kind of cracking down on it, I've tried to cut back. There's some where I cannot think of a way of making this sentence work without swearing. There was that joke in The Scarlet Pimpernel where in that sketch, if I didn't say fuck off, the sketch doesn't make sense.
No, it was really funny.
There's some situations where I think swearing is absolutely necessary. I am also quite naturally very foul-mouthed.
It's like, sometimes you need it for comedic effect or else it ruins the joke of what you're going across.
There's really bizarre rules for YouTube swearing. It's like swearing in the intro is worse. They can get you demonetized, but swearing at the end doesn't, but it can get your video restricted. So it's like, there's so many different levels now, and there's so many different rules. In general, it is better to just curb your language.
Yeah.
I don't think I can.
I think they kind of treat it like a PG-13 film. They seem to allow one F-bomb, but don't keep using it.
Exactly, yeah. Don't swear, just constantly like I did in Dune. I wonder if that's still monetized. I'll have to check.
I have no idea.
I'll put it in, I'll send you editing.
Narrator, it in fact was not.
I like that kid.
He's so cute.
Hi, my name is Julie. I was wondering, what are the criteria, or what does it take for you to decide to review one of the indie published novels? This is not a self-serving question at all. It's not like I just released a epic fantasy novel in November and would love for you to review it or anything. But all jokes aside, seriously, I highly value your opinion. I love your reviews, and I was just curious. Thank you.
So it's the same answer again. Basically, unfortunately, I am, and maybe when I start my second channel, I will open up the things to have it sent to me again.
But and same answer still seems.
But I can't do full polished videos just because it doesn't pull numbers, and YouTube will kill me. So I liked it. She had an energy.
Yes,
she was very excited. She had something on a stencil on the back of on a wall behind her.
I couldn't see all of it.
Show, I think.
Yeah,
I liked it.
In the past, you've talked about wanting to do a full remake of the Sharp television series in the veins of the production values of Game of Thrones. If it was up to you, who would you choose to be the actors for Richard Sharp, Patrick Harper, their allies, and their enemies?
Okay, weird answer to this, right? I would like Sharp. I don't even remember his name right now.
Oh my god, it's scary.
Sorry, the cats are playing with each other. I want Sharp to be played by this bloke I used to know at university.
Oh, okay.
Joking aside, I would like that sort of thing to maybe be I would like them to take a risk on some no-name actors. That's usually when I fan cast things, unless I have someone who I think is absolutely perfect for the role, I usually say don't tie yourself to whoever's hot right now. Don't grab the Game of Thrones cast. Don't grab anyone who's just been in a really popular show. Like The Witcher or something. Just find someone who is a good actor who fits the role physically and and take a chance on them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, because, like, let's see, Sharp is a tall, dark-haired man. Harper's an even bigger Irishman. You got things like Tong or a few other people, like just redheads. You just need a bunch of scruffy-looking Englishmen. There's not a lot of requirements for this.
I think in that case, it's just more about who can envelop the character, like their personality. And
so I say, like, interview every bloody actor in Britain until you find someone who fits the role.
Yeah. I personally have never been into fan casting just because I just picture the character that's described to me.
Part of the reason I have trouble with adaptations is I'm picturing the character, not picturing Sean Bean.
I mean, I picture Sean Bean regardless of what I'm watching.
You know, I reread Lord of the Rings. I was expecting to see the cast from the films because I love the films, but I didn't. I saw the characters I first read when I first envisioned it. Boromir has like a much longer beard in my head. He talks a different voice. And
I do love him as Boromir, though.
He's so good.
Oh, he was so good.
You know, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I got Viggo Mortensen and Sean Bean mixed up in my head when I first watched that movie, and I was confused.
How dare you?
I know. I got confused because I was like, wait, did Boromir just try to take the ring but then also give it up?
I do remember in high school with those movies being as big as they were, I was the only girl who had a crush on Sean Bean. Everyone else was like, Legolas.
Everyone else is either Aragorn or Legolas.
Or even Elijah Wood. I was the only one who was like, but what about Boromir?
What about Boromir? Yeah. He can steal my ring. No, sorry. No, forget I said that.
Hello, Dominic. I'm not going to bother with my entire life history. I'll just say that as someone who is both non-neurotypical and trans, you have really made your YouTube channel to be a safe space, and that's incredibly heartwarming, and I thank you for that. Anyway, my question is, I'm a professional translator, and I noticed that in his books based not on English authors, you failed to mention the translator. And now, let's put aside that a translator spends months with a book. The fact is, small details that change with every translation do matter. For instance, when Percy Jackson was being brought into my country, a question that was considered was, should we use the Roman names instead of the Greek names? Should Minerva be the mother of Annabeth? Because that's the more popular one the kids would recognize. So I was wondering if you would be willing to at least signal what versions or what translations you're using. Because small translation details do change the overall context of the book.
You know, I didn't consider that. I mean, we touched on this before. I haven't done that many ones that were...
Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera would be one, because that was French.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a lot of different translations on that, and yet I didn't mention which one. Yeah, so I believe what this person was saying was just like, you know, I should mention the translator more, and just, 100%, yeah. No, that should have mentioned that, because that could change the context, and it also doesn't give credit to someone who works very hard to do something. So, yeah, fair point. We'll definitely try to, if I know which one it is, I guess it'll be up to you to find out.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to mention it in the future.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. If we ever we haven't really come across that in our videos here. There hasn't really been like a...
Not been too many, like I said. Phantom of the Opera is the one I think a lot of people were trying to find out which version I read, and my answer was like, I don't know, it's a book. So yeah, that was probably a book tuber fail. Going forward, we'll put on the to-do list.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Why, hello there. So, at first I was going to ask, which of your cats is your favorite? But then I realized, they're both in the house, they're probably listening, you can't say it. Secrets are gotta be kept. So, my real question is, what are your cats like? What are their personalities like? What similarities do they have? What differences? Who are they? Thanks. Bye.
They just whispered you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I heard that disparaging comment about who's the favorite.
Well, the cats were both acting up while we were listening to the questions.
Yes.
So Terry is currently climbing up my shelves, so he briefly...
Trying to get the one up on Whisper.
Exactly. So I was like, well, Whisper's definitely the favorite right now because he's not interrupting filming. And then Whisper came clambering through the door.
Exactly, yeah.
I was like, well, you're back to being even, boys. It's a pretty easy answer. Whisper he's the more sort of smaller, cuter one. He's fairly quiet most of the time. When he decides to meow, he meows loud. So Terry has serious separation anxiety, I think. He is not happy unless he's within a meter of me, usually. He always wants to be in the same room. He's very cuddly. He's a great cat to come around if you're having like a sad day or you're feeling upset.
Sir Terry is, I mean, when I come over, the more friendly of the two. Wisp still isn't too sure about me. I would say he's just more aloof, which is fine. I don't hold that against animals. I actually don't like it when people judge animals for not being social enough. I'm like, hey, you could socialize your animals till kingdom come. If that is not their personality, it's not their personality.
Yeah, it's also sometimes difficult, and it's funny that we mentioned the octopus man earlier. It's sometimes putting too much human personality onto your animals. In a state we don't fully, we can say, describe their individual's behavior, but to say that they have like human personalities, I think always puts a weird vibe on them. They're not humans, they're little gremlins who are tearing up my rug while I'm trying to film. Somehow they know they're being talked about. Oh. Yep. Unbelievable, boys. You had to somehow interrupt right as the cat question came up. I'm actually impressed.
That's the cat way, though.
That is the cat way. Let's put this back. So yeah, what about Ava? How would you describe her personality aside from bullying me?
She's like a little velociraptor, but it's funny. People's outward perception of her is she's very intimidating and very like aloof and is the hunter. But the way Corey and I know her, she's incredibly needy, very affectionate, has intense separation anxiety. If I get Postmates and I leave the door, immediately like 2 seconds will go by and I hear her howling. I think it's only mostly because of the pandemic, so we're both home all the time. Yeah. So it's harder for her to like, but yeah, it's funny, she's not like a big cuddler, but she wants to sleep near you.
Yeah, Whisper's a bit like that sometimes.
She's only really cuddly, like I would say first thing in the morning. She'll actually like spoon into me. Yeah, and be really cute.
These guys aren't allowed to sleep in my bed. So Whisper's okay, so Terry just cannot sit still long enough for me to sleep. I'm a very light sleeper, and he keeps having to move. He keeps having to come and try and lick my head, or he keeps jumping off, moving ways, go thump, and I'm like, So it's just enough to low level keep me awake, so I have to lock them out of the bedroom, which is sad for all three of us. But just...
Yeah. She's actually really good about sleeping. She'll either sleep like on the couch in the main room, or we have like a dog bed that's on the bottom of our bed. She does actually not go into, she does not hop onto our bed until like an hour or two before we're supposed to get up, and you don't even feel it because we have like one of those special mattresses you don't feel when there's movement on it.
Nice.
But no, it's so funny because she has like very much like a dual personality. There's that one side of her that is super chill and naps a lot and just wants you to pet her. Because she'll sometimes come over to the chair and she'll sit there and puff her chest out because she wants a scritch there. But there's also that other side of her that she's very vocal. She's got to talk to you. So she's got to bark or cry or make like these husky noises.
She does like that sort of sigh snort.
Yes.
Just thinking hard about stuff.
But yes, she does bully Dom. I think she's gotten a lot better about that than when you first met her.
Was it Thanksgiving or something, you said, don't feed her from your plate or she'll consider herself your equal or superior for the rest of your life. I'm like,
basically, she'll just,
And you were not wrong. She has, I am not like a member of her pack, but also a very subservient one in her eyes. Yeah. So that was a very non-work related casual question to end on, but so thanks for joining us, my beautiful watchers, and I apparently we were celebrating 200k.
I guess so. I couldn't remember. It's been a while. A lot of things have happened in between, so.
Indeed, been a bit busy, but that's like I cannot express just how much I appreciate everyone who has subscribed to the channel and comes and watches the videos and all these. Some of them really, really, really lovely questions.
Yeah.
And the nice things you guys have said. So, like I say, you guys do mean the world to me. I can't, obviously I can't know each of you individually, but your support and the support you give to the channel does not go unnoticed. You guys. You make me very, very proud to do what I do. So yeah. Peace and love, y'all.